Okay, so whenever you're ready, Councilmember Nadeau and Commissioner-elect Chauvin, we are on YouTube.
Great. Okay. Repeat after me. Raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, Frank Chauvin,
I, Frank Chauvin,
having been duly elected
having been duly elected
as a commissioner
as a commissioner
of the Advisory Neighborhood Commissions
of the Advisory Neighborhood Commissions
of the District of Columbia,
of the District of Columbia,
do solemnly swear that
do solemnly swear that
I, Frank Chauvin,
I, Frank Chauvin,
will support and defend the Constitution
will support and defend the Constitution
of the United States,
of the United States,
that I will perform such duties
and I will perform such duties
as may be assigned to me
as may be assigned to me
as member of said commissions
as member of said commissions
to the best of my ability,
to the best of my ability,
without fear or favor.
without fear or favor,
That I will exercise my best judgment
that I will exercise my best judgment
and will consider each matter before me
and will consider each matter before me
from the viewpoint
from the viewpoint
of the best interest
of the best interest
of the District of Columbia as a whole,
of the District of Columbia as a whole,
and that I will faithfully discharge said duties.
and that I will faithfully discharge said duties.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Have a good meeting, commissioners.
Thank you.
Thank you. Congratulations, Commissioner Chauvin.
Thank you all. Look forward
Congrats,
to working together to this esteemed body of community small government. Appreciate, look forward to it. Thank you.
Great.
I had a platform speech, but I won't give it right now because Sable will cut me off.
I mean, we have 5 minutes, so if you would like to, go ahead. It's your time to shine right now.
Really?
You have until 6:30.
Oh no! Oh no! Oh no! No. So, well, I am never always fully prepared. I'm three-quarters prepared for off-the-cuff comments. I'm never a great extemporaneous speaker. I'm a better prepared note speaker. So, next few minutes, I'll just provide a few comments. I am here to serve my constituents in these O2 SMD. That's 1B O2. And I've said everything. You guys have heard me say it 10 times, and now I get to say it a little louder about all of my constituents' desires and needs from their government. And I will be repeating it profusely, continuing in the venues of the Economic Development Committee, where I serve as a member, and on the alcohol, like beverage, and I think cannabis administration committee. I'm not quite sure the name of the committee, but it does serve both alcohol and cannabis review. And also on the Zoning and Historic Preservation Committee. I look forward to working together with all of you in a coalition to further the goals, my goals, and I think my goals are in service to U Street and your district, your SMDs. Have been continuing to work profusely with the T Street Task Force to help with the matters at T and 7th Street, which are, I serve, Larry's been on this committee for over a year also, and it serves to determine how to help these folks that are in a lot of trouble at 7th and T, and to help the economic interests, sort of rebalance that area so it's safe and so that we can maintain good business and that we can get some help for folks that have been overlooked and or haven't had help to date. I will continue in that matter. We met this morning. I look forward to your support and help on that matter. I will continue to work hard on the Alcoholic Beverage Committee. and alcoholic beverage and cannabis with all of you and your interests in your district to reform ABCA, because everybody here could raise their hand, both hands, and all of your feet in support that there's necessary need for change with this alcoholic beverage agency, because it has a hard time serving our residents and our own interests as a balance act that has been sort of superseded with interests of a 10 p.m. to 4 a.m. economy, which doesn't serve a mixed use interest. And I will do everything I can to ensure my residents aren't houses aren't shaken at 4 a.m. Because there's unfortunately one on 14th Street, one in LaDroit Park, and in my North Shaw off of 9th Street. Residents continue to be shaken in the middle of the night and can't sleep, have health problems and work problems. And lastly, I'll move to economic development. Do I have another minute here?
Well, actually, let me just chime in here and then you can finish off. But one, you should go ahead and rename yourself if you can follow the format as the other commissioners. And then for those of you who are just joining us, we just Commissioner Frank Chauvin was just sworn in for 1B02. We will get started with our info session in just a couple of minutes. We do have Deputy Mayor Nina Albert joining us this evening to speak on the mayor's proposed budget. So again, congratulations, Commissioner Chauvin, and you have 30 seconds to wrap it up.
And it's actually a perfect entree to Deputy Mayor Albert, who I've introduced myself to several times. She's aware of my face and my interests, our interests, your interests here on ANC 1B. But we need some help with the economic interests and the status of U Street. And we'd love some help. I'd love to chat with her sometime over the next couple of weeks, Miss Albert, on the HFA and on the Duke plan and on the zoning, the arts overlay which I think we need your help with. So I look forward to a conversation to help restore interest, which balance residents and the economics success
Great.
of our U Street corridor. Thank you very much, Ms.
Excellent.
Chair
Thank
Harris.
you, Commissioner Chauvin. Okay. So again, thank you everyone for joining us this evening. We are just waiting on Deputy Mayor Nina Albert to join us this evening to present on the mayor's proposed budget. So hopefully she will be joining us soon. I do see my Seth here. Hello. Can you hear me?
Hello, Commissioner, how are you?
Good, how are you? Nice to have you on 1B.
It's good to be here again. Here you go. You can see me now.
Yes.
Let me go ahead and mute myself, and I think my colleagues from Denver will be joining us in a moment.
Great. Well, we are ready. And if there's any issues with the presentation, I have it downloaded, and so does our admin Cedric. He also has it downloaded, so we can pull that up. But
yeah, if you don't mind, would you be able to pull up the slide deck from earlier?
Cedric, are you able to do that?
Yes, it's a PDF.
Yes, it's what I forwarded you. Great. Okay. Can everyone see the screen? I can see it. I'm assuming everyone else can.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Okay. If anyone has questions for the deputy mayor, and we will send out this presentation, or actually we'll put it on our website. First, what we'll do is we'll take commissioner questions. And then if anyone in the audience has any questions, if you can go ahead and put those into the Q&A or raise your hands in Zoom, and then we can take you off of mute to ask any questions that you have. Moises, was there any issues with the link to join, or were we just?
I think the deputy mayor is attempting to join now. We just sent her the updated link. So
Okay.
she should be joining momentarily.
Okay, great.
Chair Harris, does that mean the deputy mayor didn't hear my comments?
No, but it was recorded, so if I'm sure you can send them over, or when she joins us, I'm sure you can ask any questions that you have.
Yeah, thank you.
Since we're starting probably a few minutes late, we'll probably start around the official meeting time, probably around 7:05, depending on the questions that come up. So just so everyone is aware.
Chairwoman, we have Benjamin Fritz, our Director of Communications, on the call. Could you advance him to panelist? Seems like the deputy mayor is having a bit of trouble with the link.
Okay. Cedric, if you want to go ahead and take your off of stop viewing it and then relaunch it. Who is that again?
Benjamin Fritz. I'll drop his name in the chat.
Okay. Oh, okay. Cedric, can you promote him as panelist, please?
Hi everyone, it's Ben Fritsch from DemPed. We were just, dealing with the lovely issues of Teams and Zoom and all that. So I think the deputy mayor is going to try and join from her computer right now.
Okay, great. Keep
All
us
hands
posted.
on deck.
If there's anything if we need to resend the link, we can absolutely do that.
No, I think
When I get on,
she's actually joining herself right now. So you'll see her join on right now.
Great. Thank you everyone for your patience. It is a little difficult to always navigate Teams and Zoom and whatever else DC government has. So we appreciate it.
Hi,
Thank you so much for joining us, Deputy Mayor. Hi, thank you.
Oh my goodness. Can I just tell you, of course, at 6:29, my computer decided to reboot. And I still can't totally use it. So thank you, everybody, for your patience with me. I truly appreciate it.
Well, thank you so much for joining us this evening. Really appreciate your time and going through the mayor's proposed budget. What we will do is, one, you have, 15, 20 minutes to go through everything or a little bit longer should you need it. Then we'll go around for commissioners for any questions that they have. And then we'll kick it over to the audience of our community members. I think one has already dropped a question into the Q&A, but we'll filter those through. And then some of them may want to come off of mute to ask any questions that they have. But thank you again for joining us, and I'll let you take it away.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you so much. Okay, here we go. I do want to say the deck that the presentation slides that we have are quite comprehensive. And I am not going to go through every slide because there are details, for example, about public education and also about public safety that aren't necessarily my expertise. But I certainly am able to touch on those. I'll do a little bit of a deeper dive into housing and community development work, which is in the DEMPED banner. And so anyway, and if there are questions that you all have that relate to some of the slides in other topical areas, happy to take them. We also have a couple members of our mayor's office of community relations, and they will take them as well. And we'll make sure that if I can't answer your questions, that they are answered. So anyway, thank you, everybody. I just appreciate the opportunity to come and speak with you, talk about the mayor's FY25 budget. As you know, the mayor submitted her budget to the council on April 3rd. And we have been, and I have been going through our budget oversight hearings. I just had mine yesterday. And so this is when the council gets an opportunity to ask each of the agencies about their budget performance from last year, as well as, from this year, as well as what the budget priorities for the agency are next year. Next slide. Thank you. So in general, it's really important for people to understand that the district is doing well overall. On very key indicators, there's been a lot of focus on crime and the discussion of crime. This year, compared to last year, we are 14% down in terms of overall crime, and particularly in violent crime, down even more. So, the trends are coming down, and we're really grateful that the council and the mayor have been championing the Secure DC Act. There are some extraordinary assets that we have as a city and leadership that we continue to maintain across the country, which is that we are the #1 city for tech careers. We're also first in the nation, top in the nation for office to residential conversions. We maintain our AAA bond rating, which is really important in terms of our fiscal position and ability to borrow money when we need to have that strong bond rating. A leading city for business, for women-owned businesses. And these are just a comprehensive set of indicators about how we're doing. Our population is growing. We're one of the few cities this year that has a growing population. Tourism is not completely back, but in the 90% of pre-COVID numbers. And public school enrollment is growing. So again, across the board, we are generally doing quite well. There are concerns and headwinds that we are struggling with, which has to do with the devaluation of the office marketplace. And what that means to us as a city when commercial property taxes drop is it means less revenue to the city, and overall that is among the reasons, and I'll go into a few more about what is constraining our budget this year. Next slide, please. Okay, so there are three major trends that we are all trying to account for, and that is impacting the budget. The first is that our costs are increasing, and some of these things are beyond our control. The WMATA fiscal cliff is real. WMATA has been asking the region for significant more subsidy to cover their operating gap as a result of drops in ridership as well as expense growth. That means that the District of Columbia has committed an additional $200+ million in FY25 to help them cover that gap. And then there's a number of other things, again, beyond our control: labor agreements, retirement costs, Medicaid matching, utilities. The cost of electricity and other utilities is going up, as well as security. So these are costs that our budget has to absorb. And then that component that I had mentioned before, which is slowing revenue growth. And so what we're seeing is, historically, we've had revenue growth of approximately 6% annually. We've enjoyed that over the last decade. But this year, we're anticipating only 2% revenue growth. And when you compare our revenue growth of 2% to the costs, which are growing at approximately 7.5%, what we need to do is bring that back in line. And then the other and third component that is a major thing that our budget has to absorb and that we as a city have to manage is the fact that during COVID, we received a number of federal funds that were designed to support and sustain us through that very unusual and hopefully, never to be repeated, pandemic. But those federal funds are now expiring. So we've been able to support ourselves over the last 3 years through that federal infusion of funds, but it will be expiring December of 2024. And so that's kind of the sum total of what we're having to manage going into 25. So how do we manage in 25? There are some guiding principles, and this is what has informed what budget items we move forward with and what budget items we constrain ourselves by. So number one, there are core services that every resident expects to receive from the government: trash pickup, policing and police services, education, health and safety programs. All of those things are what people expect and that we must maintain. The other thing is that we've been prioritizing programs that demonstrate high impact and advancement of equity. So we have experience, obviously, with a variety of programs, and those that are having what I call the greatest return on investment are those that we are continuing to advance. And then lastly, we are in an unusual time for our economy, for our recovery. And so we have prioritized catalytic investments that make sure that we can get back to the levels of productivity from a financial and revenue perspective that we've enjoyed for the past decade. And so that's the sum total of how we have made decisions about which elements of the budget to move forward with and which we've had to constrain ourselves with. And as the mayor has framed it and has talked about, this is a budget of shared sacrifice. And so we've taken cuts across the district agencies to make sure that there's equitable sort of discipline, if you will, across all agencies. But these are the three major guiding principles when we're looking towards how, when we've had to go beyond that, how to prioritize our money in 25. So these are the pillars that the budget is oriented around: public safety, revitalization of downtown, and public education. And that you will see repeated here through our document next. So again, in public safety, there's a variety of investments that are being proposed. I think some of the things that I want to call out and sort of draw your attention to is the fact that the mayor is investing in programs that make us safer and stronger. This is a priority across all neighborhoods that we've heard repeatedly. And these investments include getting the district onto a path of having a police force of 4,000 officers strong. There are a couple other investments I just do want to call out. One is the investment in new technology for MPD. And that includes the enhanced CCTV and real-time crime center that will help reduce crime and make our city safer. This includes making sure that there's private security cameras and an initiative around that so that it's not only public assets, but also integration of cameras that residents have, that businesses have, that all feed into improving our ability to react and see real time what's happening out on the ground. Next. Obviously, I know a lot about this banner, which is downtown. The mayor's 25 budget includes maintaining downtown as the economic engine for the city. Just so that everybody has context, downtown produces or has historically produced about 16% of the district's overall revenue production. And so we have not had to invest in our downtown for a long time. Instead, we've been using the proceeds from the tax revenue that downtown generates, and we've been able to invest in other parts of the city that are not as revenue producing. And so downtown's been that engine for the rest of the city. Now is a time when we see revenue from downtown slowing, that we need to now invest in this neighborhood. And so it's really sort of double downing on our future to make sure that, the 37% of the businesses, of district businesses that are located downtown, the 43% of DC workers that are located downtown have a vibrant place so that we don't fall into a doom loop, which some cities are sort of succumbing to, but instead we continue to maintain the vibrancy that this city has always had and the growth that we've all enjoyed. Okay, let's see. In public education, this again continues to be a major priority for this mayor, has been. And I mentioned that there is growth in our student body, and that's really just incredibly, it's a great indicator of our success. And so I just want to pull out a couple different programs that we're working on. First is the high impact tutoring and the advanced technical centers. And this is really to make sure that, our students have access to, and as a result of the pandemic, actually have access to different forms of additional education support that's needed, whether it's virtual or after school or otherwise. And these are investments that we think are going to change the trajectory of students and their careers, which is good for them, obviously, as well as for the family, for their families, and most importantly, what their path to upward mobility is. I'm sorry, I see that Commissioner Kensick has his hand up.
I'm going to wait till you finish. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay. So let's go to the next slide, which is about housing and economic development. This mayor has been a tremendous pioneer and champion for affordable housing and housing production across the District of Columbia. And so there continues to be a significant focus on that. There are a number of elements here that are listed, but on housing, our goal is to achieve 36,000 new housing units by 2025. And we are at this point 94% of our way toward achieving that goal. The District of Columbia is leading the region in affordable housing development. We only make up about 2% of the greater Washington area, but we have produced 31% of the region's total housing goals. And more importantly, or as importantly, we have produced 81% of the region's affordable housing production of 30% or less of medium family income homes. We're very proud of that, and that is a track record that we will continue to lead the way for this region and frankly, for the country. I also want to point out that in our capital budget, we do include that $515 million for Capital One Arena. But I want to point out and underscore the fact that we are also proposing $400 million to be invested in real estate projects across the rest of the District of Columbia, which includes 75%, by the way, of that $400 million are for capital projects and real estate projects in Wards 7 and 8. So I just want to make sure there's a narrative out there that I've heard and questions that people ask me, why are we spending so much in downtown? This is not at the sacrifice of investing in other parts of our city. And these investments that are listed here on this slide help, demonstrate kind of where we're putting our money. And particularly in Ward 1, Bruce Monroe project is continuing to move forward, and that's been long awaited. And I know that many community members are very excited to see that move forward after so much time has passed. And then on this slide, I also want to point out our continued commitment at a greater level than we had last year of investment and support for small businesses. And that comes in a variety of different in different ways. For example, there's Great Streets. There's Commercial Property Acquisition Fund. Anyway, there's just a number of different programs that we're continuing to invest in to make sure that we support small businesses throughout the city. Okay, I've been flagged by others on my team that I want to make sure to leave time for questions. To tell you the truth, we can go through it, but the deck, I'll just kind of highlight the top lines. But if you guys want to see major investments in libraries and recreation centers, let's go to the next slide. Transportation and environment. Next, government operations. These are detailing some of the major investments that this mayor's FY25 budget includes. So with that, I'm sorry to cut myself short, but I will, just so I know that I can answer some questions for you.
Great. Thank you for going over this, and we will absolutely send it out to the community. Cedric, if you can go ahead and take this off the screen. We'll start with commissioners first, and then we will move to community members. Now, we will go over a little bit. Deputy Mayor, if you have a few minutes past 7, we will take it then, just so we can get through folks' questions. But first, Commissioner Kinsick.
Yes, thanks, Deputy Mayor. I got to tell you, in my 2 terms as a commissioner, it's one of the most lucid presentations I've seen. It sounds very nice, and I appreciate that. The concern of a lot of people in the city is that how we're going to rebound with all these empty offices. You're talking about downtown a lot. People are fear of crime, which also makes people not want to go downtown. Currently, the offices in DC is at about 48% of pre-pandemic levels. 20% of the downtown storefronts and offices are vacant, which obviously downs the value of commercial real estate. So although I'm happy to hear really about Ward 7 and 8, that's great. I'd also really like to see what we're doing with K Street and a lot of these empty offices, and how we are going to rebound with this, with the crime that has just been going, rampant through the city.
Okay. Thank you so much for this question. I talk about this quite a bit. This is the primary concern. The way that I describe it, well, I want to first address crime. First of all, earlier this year, the Secure DC Act, which was passed by the council, supported by the mayor, is designed to close what we call a number of different loopholes. It's 100 points, literally, of different components designed to close those loopholes. And already we're seeing the benefits of that. And so I would urge all of you, and it's on us, to make sure that you have the data that supports kind of the reductions and the improvements in in our criminal in this ecosystem. And again, Secure DC really touched upon the criminal justice system, the policing functions, neighborhood policing opportunities. I mean, there's a whole host of different ways, because we're seeing it's not just one thing that's causing the problems. It's kind of a multitude of things. And I would really, and in fact, I'll just pass it on to Deputy Mayor Pia and others to come and really deep dive into that, because it's worth understanding. But more importantly, we need to communicate about it so that the perception of crime, when it is a perception, and there is a reality of crime as well. I don't want to suggest that there isn't, but that we have the data to talk about it, and we all need to understand it. And I have been working very closely with the downtown bid, with actually all of the bids, business improvement districts, to make sure that that relationship of people who are on the ground, getting the information from businesses, and that connectivity with MPD and others are really as tight as possible. I am not the expert in criminal justice. I do want to talk about what you are really getting at. It's interesting, our economy, by most economic indicators, GDP, unemployment, job growth, we're actually strong in all of that. What is complicated and concerning is the vacancy in office, and that commercial property tax rates generate the revenue that they do for our city. So the repositioning of office to something is what we've been spending a lot of time on, incentivizing. And so we have two programs. One is already passed. It's called Housing in Downtown. It's a tax abatement program for properties that are within the downtown boundary area. We already have 11 office to residential conversions in the pipeline. We have an application process that is open right now. We have 5 applicants that look like, pretty healthy and good. We have to get through them all, of course, but there is a pipeline. It's not enough. It's not enough. And so in this year's budget, we've proposed something that's called the Downtown Activation Program. In my words, it's office to anything. So office to anything. Office to residential is great, but we really you want to do office to hotel, great. You want to do office to something else, go for it. And the program is pretty slick in that we are looking to hold and freeze property taxes for those properties for the next 15 years. So we don't lose revenue. We can't afford to lose revenue, but it gives those property, the investors, the ability to underwrite those, loans and, projects with more certainty. So we're getting feedback from the marketplace about how that's going to work. But I do anticipate that in the meantime, that will take 5 to 10 years for us to recover from that. And so how we're trying to recover faster is through immediate activations. We're very lucky. We've got World Pride coming next year. It's a major festival that could drive business. Yep. We've also got in 2026, the 250th anniversary of the United States. So we're talking about that. Those are like huge one-time infusions. But the notion is tourism, entertainment, and that's why monumental sports is so important to us at this moment. We need an immediate infusion and intervention to produce revenue, and hotel tax revenue, sales tax revenue are still strong. And that's why we are supporting activation in the meantime, so that we can kind of weather the next 5, hopefully not 10 years.
Thank you.
Great, thank you. Commissioner Lakatos, if you can make it quick, same with the other commissioners, just
Oh,
because we do
sorry.
have several in the Q&A.
Sure. Thank you so much for being here, Deputy Mayor. I had a very quick question. I spoke about this at your confirmation hearing, and I think you spoke about it a little as well. I'm curious if you could talk a little bit about how you see the district's relationship with the Park Service as it relates to managing the local versions of the parks. I know that a lot of the focus is downtown, Farragut Square, Franklin Square, but we have Meridian Hill Park here. It needs some more love. It's feeling some neglect. I'm curious how you see that going forward like, and what the relationship is like with the Park Service now? Because, you know, they're sometimes difficult. I'll leave that as my comment.
They're a big bureaucracy. We'll just leave it at that. So I'm very fortunate. I think, I don't know if I mentioned this to you earlier, but when I was in DC government, kind of in my last round, I was actually the liaison to the National Park Service on behalf of the DC government. So I know the Park Service well. I also just joined DC government from a federal government job. And so again, understanding what the rules and perspective of the National Park Service is really important to rebuilding and building and maintaining a good relationship. I've had to date some really important conversations with the Park Service, and it is clear to me that they want to be a good partner. And so what we're going to be doing in the future, and this, you're right, it's downtown is one thing, you know, but really we have National Park Service property all over our city. You know, and as large as Rock Creek Park. I mean, you know, kind of one of the largest assets, frankly. So I do think that it's really important that we engage with the Park Service. And personally, what I would like to work on with them is sort of a typology of different types of parks. You know, if we have little pocket parks or neighborhood embedded parks, what's the relationship and how can we make those properties really work best for the community? And there's other assets like Rock Creek Park, it's unique, right? The mall, it's unique. So we have to treat those differently. But I believe that we're off to a really good start. The relationship between the district and the Park Service, it depends on what the issue is, candidly. But what I am hoping to bring, and I've, you know, worked across government with different, DDOT has a lot of interface with the Park Service, DPR, obviously, city administrator, and my office. We have a lot of different agencies that interface with the Park Service. And so we're trying to pull together a comprehensive set of priorities and start knocking those out in a more consolidated way so that it's manageable for the Park Service to be able to work with us as opposed to, you know, getting a lot of different inputs from a lot of different people. I think we're going to see, I'm actually quite confident that our relationship will continue to get better and better.
Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Chauvin.
Yes, good evening, Deputy Mayor. Thank you for being here. I've introduced myself to you a few times off the cuff at a few mayoral events and hope to continue a discussion matters. And question for you, can you commit DEMPED's resources, personnel, and some time and see if there's some monies? But we have a Duke plan that needs your help. It's 20 years old. There's been lots of leftover stuff that's been lost by a lot of administrators that have come before you and other departments, and I'm asking for your resources, personnel from DEMPED, and some money to help ensure the 6 sub-area plans in the Duke plan are finalized, and we bring back U Street that has the worst crime, highest violent, highest property crime in the district, and it's based on physical the built environment. If we don't build a strong environment, we're going to continue in the same direction. So I'd like your commitment to that, and as well as a review of the arts overlay. There's deficiencies in that arts overlay, and I'd love to discuss those with you and how your office can commit and help to resources to ensure that U Street succeeds, because it's not, and it needs some attention just as much as downtown does. I don't know how much of percentage it brings in revenue. I'd like to see that. Do you know if those facts exist? How much does U Street and Mid Street bring into the district in terms of economic prosperity?
Well, okay, I'm going to address this in a couple different ways. So I just want to underscore that U Street is incredibly important. It's important so I talk about downtown, but that's not at the expense of other parts of the city. So Georgetown is an economic driver. Navy Yard, the Wharf, U Street is an economic driver for us. It is important. The other thing that it's really important is that there is an identity and a groundedness of U Street that has to do with our identity as a city, as an African-American city, as a center of academic excellence for the city. All of those things are assets and resources and reasons that people come to the city. We want them not to just stay in downtown. We want them to go to significant neighborhoods that are unique to our city, like U Street. So here's what I'll commit to. I understand and got a short briefing on the Duke plan, but what I'd really like to do is come out to the, I would like to spend some time with you. And I'd really like to figure out what it is that are priorities, what needs to be done. This is how I work, which is to go and see what's on the ground, see what you're seeing, and let's talk about what critical investments are that will make biggest bang for the buck, and then start working on it. So you have my commitment to do that, and happy to meet with you, honestly. Let's do that in the next 2 months. U Street is more of an economic engine and an identity for the city than I think maybe we speak to, but I'm very aware of the importance of that area.
Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Sycamore.
Hello,
And we
Deputy
don't
Mayor.
want to
Thank
be
you
on your
so
roof
much
deck,
for-
by the way.
Come on over. There's plenty of space. No, so thank you so much for taking the time to come to see us. I have a lot of questions, but I'm just going to keep it to one. When you're talking about green space and you're talking about the National Park Service, and you also mentioned Bruce Monroe, and you were talking about excited residents. The things that I've heard, even though this is not in our commission district, I've heard a lot of people with a lot of pushback and a lot of concerns about Bruce Monroe. So while we're talking about trying to work with the National Park Service and trying to create green spaces that the residents of our community can use, why is the mayor not investing into a green space that is already here, that's already ours? Why are we investing so much into this? And it's something that the community clearly does not want. If we have a lot of development that's going on downtown with lots of tax abatement programs for different developers, which I also hope that you are going to extend to residents at some point who could possibly use that tax relief, which I'm not clear on that. But I guess really the heart of my question is, why can't the mayor invest in the green spaces that we already have? Why can't we enhance what Bruce Monroe is, instead of just build, which is something that has been a real big problem for this city? Because honestly, affordable housing and equitable housing for families isn't reasonable unless they have places for kids and people to play and have recreation areas. So that's kind of my big question for this, if you wouldn't mind. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I mean, I think, there is a long-standing plan around Bruce Monroe, and it predates the green space that's there. And so we have an obligation as a city to deliver on that plan. That's housing authority property. And, honestly, that is part of what, the affordable housing community expects. That is the benefit of, that's a commitment that was made, I think, probably, I don't know if it's 2 decades ago, but probably maybe 15 years ago at least. And so we have to honor the commitment and the plan that was made. To your point about the importance of green space, totally agree. And so I think that what we maybe want to engage on are opportunities to enhance other existing green spaces, or identify maybe a strategic location for new green space. But Bruce Monroe in particular, at this point, we have to follow through on the plans that we started.
Great.
Is that because of a legal requirement, or by statute, or policy?
Well, it's a new community, and can I get back to you on sort of a little bit of the history?
Absolutely.
I'd rather kind of give you accurate information, but
absolutely, I'll shoot you an email. You can talk offline.
That would be great.
Thank you so much. I appreciate your time.
Deputy Mayor, I've gotten some pings that you may need to go, but do you have time for one more quick question from Commissioner Handerhan? And the rest of the questions that are in the chat, we will make sure it gets to the right person. Gerard, we will likely be sending it your way, and then to filter on. But go ahead, Commissioner Handerhan.
Sure. Just really quickly, Deputy Mayor, thank you so much. Like you, I've bounced around between DC government and federal government for the majority of my career. You have a great reputation at GSA that I'm really excited that you bring to the district. Picking back on something that Frank mentioned about the U Street corridor, I think maybe I don't want to steal his thunder on the Duke plan or steal the time you have with him, but I think that there are opportunities for DemPed to communicate with the community around what they're doing differently and honestly better. This is a commission that's voted really consistently for housing, for the vision that DemPed and the mayor has in this corridor to do our part, and because we believe in more housing. I think that the partnership has had really high highs and some low lows. And so can share some of that offline, but I think as someone who's very pro housing, lives next to a site that's going to be upzoned to MU10, and I'm very excited about it. I also really value information about it, and that's been, and so that's really the part I'm talking about, and kind of dialogue around it. And so we can take that offline, but if you did have an update on the Reeves Center that you're ready to share with the community, I know that is an example of a project where more communication would be welcome.
Okay, look, I think that communication, particularly at this time in our market, you know, kind of where we are in the marketplace, but just in general, I'm happy. I mean, you know, I'm 6 months in now. I've been listening. I haven't, and then I've been planning, trying to figure out how, you know, how we get this engine, you know, going again. But now is a good time for me to come and spend some concerted effort and energy with y'all. So anyway, I commit to doing that. Let's spend some time together and just help me get to know the neighborhood again from your perspective, you know, currently what's going on, and also where the community needs to hear from us. Totally committed to that.
Great, thank you.
Oh, you asked for update on Reeves. I'm so sorry. So right now we are still negotiating with the developer. There's just a few last things that we gotta get across the finish line. So I think we'll be able to provide an update, you know, reasonably shortly here.
Great, thank you. We're really excited.
Yes.
Thank you so much again for joining us this evening, Deputy Mayor Albert. Really appreciate your time and the thorough presentation, even on some of the topics that are not in your wheelhouse.
I could make stuff up, but that's never good policy.
No, it is not. But thank you again. And we will definitely share this presentation out. Really appreciate your time, and thank you to your team as well too.
And thank you for your patience and with my technical difficulties, but you don't have those problems when you meet in person. So
it happens to the best of us. So we totally understand.
All right. Have a good evening, everybody. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you, everyone, for your patience and waiting. Congrats again to the newest commissioner on ANC 1B, Commissioner Chauvin. That was our info session portion of ANC 1B's meeting. We did go over about 15 minutes. I do see that there are some questions remaining in the Q&A. We will make sure those go to the right person. Gerard, if you can help us out. I know there are some in there that I think you can filter through, and we can get those over to you as well too. But with that, I call this meeting to order at 7:15 p.m. Mr. Treasurer, will you please call the roll?
Thank you. Commissioner Handerham.
Present.
Commissioner Chauvin.
Present.
Commissioner Sycamore.
Present.
Commissioner Lakatos. Present. Commissioner Kenzik.
Present.
Commissioner Trindade de Ramo. Commissioner Fields. Chair Harris.
Present.
Commissioner Jones. Madam Chair, with 6 of 9 present, we have a quorum.
Great, thank you. Commissioners, you have an agenda before you. Do we have a motion to approve tonight's agenda?
I move that we approve.
Tonight's agenda.
I move that we approve tonight's agenda.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All those in favor? Opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes. Thank you. Commissioners, we also have a consent agenda to approve last month's meeting minutes, and then a 2-minute comment time for commissioners and community members. Do we have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I move that we approve the consent agenda.
We have a second.
No,
I'll second.
All those in favor?
hold on, point of order, sorry. I was trying to inject, I'd like to separate two pieces of the business. I'm sorry, it has to do with the time limit for speech or questions. And I have a concern, especially tonight. There's a piece of business in my SMD 02 in North Shaw, and I find 2 minutes to be too limiting to the content that needs to be conveyed and the discussion between myself and folks here on the commission and folks if there's any questions that might need to be answered in the community. So I'd like to amend it for at least this meeting that time more allowance be allowed for the SMD of record if the piece of business is fully within my SMD.
So just to clarify, this is for the comment time. It's not necessarily for questions. So questions can be asked. And also, Commissioner Chauvin, just so you know, I think there's a glare just from the sun going down on your video. That's just a bit distracting, just so you know. You can keep it on, but I just wanted to make you aware. But comment time is different from question time. Commissioner
Sure.
Lockwood.
I was going to suggest a friendly amendment to it. I believe we did this in the last 2 meetings, which is two comments, each of 2 minutes for commissioners and for residents. So 2 and 2, so that per topic. So that would be 4 minutes total if desired.
Yeah, I think that's right. Second that, yeah.
Commissioner Chauvin, I understand what you're saying. Does that kind of allay a bit of the concern? And then obviously, as Chair Harris mentioned, that doesn't include questions.
And that also doesn't include recognition by the chair if asked for further time by the commissioner of record on a point of business that is 100% with my SMD. Am I correct?
So we did implement that at a prior meeting for 20 seconds additional. So that can certainly be added. I understand that this is your first meeting. So we can, if a commissioner wanted to raise that as an amendment, I can, or I would be in support of the additional 20 seconds.
So would that be a question to you, Chair Harris? Would that be in this specific section? Or are you saying that as would that be as a component of this aspect of the consent agenda? Or are you saying that would be something a commissioner could raise later on?
We can add it here, or I think it's probably better to add it here just so everyone is on the same page.
I can make that in the form of a motion. I withdraw my previous motion and then I can make a new motion on the consent agenda. That would work.
Let's go ahead and do that.
So I move to adopt the consent agenda with the amendment that there be a 2-minute comment times for commissioners and residents, as well as additional 20 seconds at the discretion of the chair per topic.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Discussion. All those in favor? Opposed? Commissioner Chauvin, I apologize. Was that in favor or opposed?
That was in favor. Sorry.
Okay. Abstentions. Motion passes. Thank you. Reports. Commissioner Lakatos, financial report.
No financial report for this month. I believe the next meeting or the following one. I believe it's the following one. Yeah.
Can we also I think we have talked about this in the past, and apologies, I'm adding this in here. It probably could be appropriate in admin. But can we also add into our website or figure out somewhere to talk about some of the guidance that OANC has around how we spend our money? I know there's a lot of confusion around that. And just so the community knows and the commissioners know, Commissioner Lakatos and I have gone to the training sessions. We've gone back and forth with OANC multiple times. There's just not a ton of guidance on this, and we're having to backtrack on some of the things we've already voted on and spent on. So if it seems like it's all over the place, it's because it is, but we will try to provide some more transparency on exactly what the ANC can spend money on. There's just a lot stricter guidelines than there were in the past. Commissioner Kinsick.
Thank you, Commissioner Harris. Treasurer Lakatos, I'm also finding it difficult. I'm having a certain location here where I'm having some commercial, residential, getting in some sound issues. I look to see about, seeing if there's any type of some kind of something I can get from ONAC, any type of funds. They said it has to be financial hardship, which we are not in financial hardship, having over $170,000. This will absolutely help the neighborhood in 1B in general. So it's something I'd like to discuss offline when you have a chance, and see how we can work with ONAC to help both the business and also a couple of my constituents with some noise issues that we're having. Thank you.
Yeah, and I'm on both those points, Commissioner Kenzik. I'm happy to, if you send me an email, I'm happy to look at that and see what we can do. And I would echo what Chair Harris said about the difficulties and the guidance, and I will work with Commissioner Fields, and we'll talk to Asha. That's something I need to do about trying to get what guidance we do have. Again, I cannot express how frustrating and sort of hectic the situation is. There are payments and sponsorships that we issued under the guidance that we were given. And then once we submitted our reports, we were told that those sponsorships were no longer eligible because they created new guidance that was created after we spent the money, which, doesn't make much sense. But thankfully we are in a very sound financial position, so it doesn't necessarily affect us, but you can understand there's a bit of a chaotic aspect, but I'll be sure to keep people posted on that.
Thank you. Moving on to committee reports, I'm actually going to wait for, I think Commissioner Fields mentioned she will be here this evening, but is running late. So I'm actually going to move it to economic development, but Commissioner Jones is not here. Is someone speaking for Commissioner Jones?
I am. Point of order for Commissioner Fields. I have been in conversation with her by text. I'm not sure. Maybe you have the most recent. Last I heard, she wasn't coming, and I may be assigned to speak on behalf. However, I'm happy to do that at the end of the meeting if she doesn't show, so we can proceed with economic development that I am the representative for.
So you don't need to keep calling a point of order, but based on an email that we received probably about maybe now a couple hours ago, Commissioner Fields stated that she would be running late, but let's move on to economic development, and then based on that we'll move it back to ABR and see. But if you can speak on ABR and Commissioner Fields isn't here, Commissioner Chauvin, that would be great, but let's go to economic development first.
Yeah, I would appreciate it if we wait as long as we can for ABR, just in case she does show, in case you have the current information. But proceeding with economic development, there was a proposal in the board meeting package for a resolution from the Economic Development Committee meeting that has proposed, recommended to the ANC here, for the approval of concepts for a dog park at 625 T Street, the vacant lot at the corner of Florida and T Street, and also for the recommendation for concept and support for a charging station. That's the proposal that was recommended and is in the packet. However, there's been a little bit of a change in plan from my perspective. I serve on the Economic Development Committee meeting, and I am also, this is my SMD, fully within my SMD. So being new to this process, I'm asking from the forefront, just, I don't know what that calls, but it's called, but it might be just deference to the point of view of my residents, my constituents in SMD 1B02. And the commissioner of record, myself. And I would therefore, I would like to, I don't think I have to withdraw the packet you saw, but I sent about an hour ago an updated a resolution. And that updated resolution just strikes everything to do with the parking station, the charging station, excuse me. All right. And I'd like to preface my comment by saying, or my proposal and my motion by saying this, that why do I only support the dog park for this location? And that's for two reasons. And I've already spoken on them tonight to the deputy mayor, and I've spoken them to everybody here on this committee. It's the Uptown Arts zoning overlay and the Duke plan. That's the reason that the dog park is the only of these two reasons this commission should support. The Uptown Arts zoning overlay promises it promises 18-hour pedestrian traffic. All right, 18-hour pedestrian traffic promotes safety. What does U Street need? Safety. What does this neighborhood, especially on the east end of U Street, need? Safety. If we don't have safety, we have no community. We have residents leaving. So we need 18-hour pedestrian traffic. This dog park would promote the Uptown Arts overlay by promoting safety by having eyes on the ground for 18 hours, something that is necessary to intervene all over the U Street corridor, but we're talking about this lot. So all decisions made on this corridor should focus and have a paradigm basis of 18-hour pedestrian traffic. So that's why the dog park is being put forward by me, the commissioner of record, as just revoking the charging station. All right. And secondly, the Duke plan. The Duke plan promotes 18 pedestrian activation of T Street. And that was 20 years ago. And we're still waiting for activation. This dog park would activate and give us the safety and the eyes on the ground that we need and be in compliance with the Duke plan, which has been lost by our electeds and not focused on. So for that reason,
Chauvin, I'm so sorry. Can I just interject here with a question? What the draft that is in the agenda, the resolution, that was the one that was voted and supported on by the committee. Is that correct?
that is correct.
Okay. And then the one that you sent this afternoon, that was your own resolution.
That was the resolution which only redacted the language, and I crossed out. I used the exact resolution. I redacted the language with respect to the charging station, and I added in yellow some accompanying provisions that describe the Duke plan and that describe the arts overlay as being the innumerable whereas and support for reasoning to accept dog park only here.
Okay. So sorry, I just want to clarify that this is different from what was voted on and supported by the committee.
Yes, it has been. I spoke
That
to
is correct.
Parker Griffin had reached out and they explained what they voted on, and the charging station was part of it. So I don't know how we can now switch it at the last second, but it was voted on for dog park and charging station.
Frank, could I just make a suggestion that you pull up the amendments? People can see what you're talking about, because I know the commissioners have seen the changes, but the community hasn't, and I think it's a little hard to follow without the text. I'm also happy to share if that's helpful.
Yeah, go ahead, Larry. Thank you. I'm having some sunlight problems and other problems this evening.
Hopefully folks can see that. So Frank, I think what you're saying is the highlighted text is new and the redacted text. These are all basically amendments you're making on what the committee voted on. Edits, let's call them edits. Yes, edits to the text as submitted by Tucker.
chairman and chair of the Economic Development Committee, Commissioner Jones.
I think you have to. I think you might have to submit them as an amendment though, because there's already a vote. Well, someone else will tell me, but I think
I
that would
mean,
be the-
you don't, because I think it's I know that Commissioner Chauvin, this is in your SMD, but I think it is important that, did you talk with the committee members about these changes at all? Because I know you're a part of economic development, but were these changes discussed with anyone on the committee there?
Again, this is a recommendation to this ANC, and therefore my motion, which will be in support of the edits here, are in the venue and the paradigm of this ANC, the purview, and therefore should be reviewed for in its own right.
I'm aware. I'm very aware of that. We have voted on that prior. We voted against kind of committee recommendations. It was just, I was asking you if you had discussed this with any member of the Economic Development Committee.
Yeah, to answer your question, I was on the Jersey Turnpike during the meeting, so not very articulate, stressed out, as you might imagine, on the Jersey Turnpike. So I was outvoted 3-1. However, the co-chair was not there, and so he may have been in my favor. And this is in my SMD, and I have been the boots on the ground for both of these issues in a way that probably only Larry has been a little deeper on these issues. I've been on the T Street Task Force and activation of this space for over a year. So in discussions on this matter, and unlike the committee members.
No one is arguing with that. I think it's just best practice across the board, because we do value the committee members' perspective because they are community members. So I'm not arguing with you. I'm simply was just asking. But let's go ahead, Commissioner Handerhan.
You're on mute.
Sorry, I'll take down my hand. It was just to suggest sharing.
Do we want to keep this up on the screen, commissioners, or have you digested these potential changes of the resolution?
I think we take it down.
And I'm going to say a point of order because I haven't finished my discussion and on the matter of the charging station in the opposition and why it should be refused.
You have 2 minutes, Commissioner Chauvin. Again, you do not have to keep calling a point of order.
All right. Well, I'll get it down eventually, just a habit I have, so I'll do my best. However, the charging station came in at the last minute after the dog park had been had great forward momentum and letters and letters and letters of support, probably 250 letters of support for the dog park. Support by LaDroit Park Association, Westminster Neighborhood Association, and I might be missing somebody here. However, lots and lots of support. Hundreds and hundreds of people support the dog park. There is no such support for the charging stations. Nothing's come forward. Nothing's in our hand. There's no, but maybe there's somebody on the call tonight that is interested in it. However, a charging station of 6 high capacity chargers would make another parking lot. And the co-chair of the Committee on Economic Development is not in support of the charging stations also. He's not here tonight. I'm representing him in the committee and the points of view raised. I think he gave this committee support as to why he does not support the charging stations. The charging stations would create a parking lot and 6 high-end $60,000 cars, because that's what they cost to charge, to buy an EV. And it would create no activation. It would not increase safety, and it would be in opposition to both the Duke plan and the arts overlay. So on those grounds, it's pretty simple. No support, not supported by the Duke plan, not supported by the arts overlay. I think it's pretty simple to conclude that is a bad use. The proponents of the charging stations came in at the last minute and still haven't answered my own questions. They picked this spot. Why? Because there's some economic interests for a charging station here. Okay, it's simple as that. There's economic interests that have raised this that will benefit from these charging stations. It's not in support of the neighborhood. The charging station program are some federal funds available. I don't know how many millions. Yes, we want charging stations in U Street, but this is the wrong place. And I'm happy to have that conversation in new business. I'd love to have a committee of some sort to look at where we can put charging stations. However, not charging stations would then increase the bad use of T Street, the bad use of U Street. And it's not supported by the facts.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Chauvin. I think let's go ahead and move on to any other commissioner comments. And then if anyone in the audience has anything, I would really appreciate their perspective. I appreciate how hard you've worked on this, but let's go ahead and move forward. Commissioner Lactos.
I would actually like to make a motion.
How about before you do that, I want to go to Commissioner Kinsick if he has any comments.
Can I make a comment before, very brief comment?
Sure.
Commissioner Chauvin, I agree strongly with your position. I think a dog park is a much better use of the space. And I've seen some of the concepts for the electric vehicle charging, and I don't really buy the suggestion that they would activate the space otherwise than it just being like a parking lot. There are actually a number of service parking lots in the area that are privately owned that I think also could be used. We have limited public land. I agree with you. And once we get to Commissioner Kinsick and other comments, I was planning on making a motion in support of it. I'm not making it. Commissioner Kinsick, or sorry, Chair Harris, back to you.
Commissioner Kinsick.
Yeah, I mean, we hear so much about bike lanes and green and blah blah blah. You know, there's hard areas to find charging stations for these hybrid vehicles. You know, they are very expensive. I do believe firmly, and I also spoke to Parker Griffin, who's on the committee, and I told him I'd be in support of the dog park, but he had said that the charging station was something that was discussed and was important to other committee members, as Commissioner Chauvin just said about the 3-to-1, and I understand New Jersey Turnpike. I've been there, done that. I don't really agree that we shouldn't have a charging station because there aren't any in the city. And I have a 2024 Volvo and it's gas only. One day I'll get to those when I start knowing there's electrical places I can charge my vehicle. And by us holding that up, I'm not sure. It's still going to have a dog park. I don't know what the problem is with having both. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Kinsick. I have a couple comments, so I will start my timer. This also has been surfaced to Department of Parks and Rec, and they have noted that the dog park goes against regulation. So
Correction.
no, excuse me, Commissioner Chauvin, I have the floor. So this does go against regulation. Now, there are some ways that I have seen Mr. Griffin, others say that a dog park can go there with support, but I do think it is slightly concerning that the ANC would go against regulation, just baseline. I also think, I have a dog. I would love to see another dog park. However, there is Shaw Dog Park, which is less than a mile away, and there is also LaDroit Dog Park, which is also less than a mile away from this area. Now, I'm certainly open to other proposed uses for it. I do find it maybe a little interesting for electric vehicle charging station. I think, there could be more green space, maybe not a dog park, because we also have to couple the management of a dog park. But I do want commissioners to keep in mind that this does not fall under the regulations that DPR has set. And they have also mentioned this to Mr. Griffin and others about this dog park. And they have said that it could not go there and it doesn't fit in the scope. So just commissioners, please keep that in mind when you are voting. Okay, Commissioner Chauvin.
Yeah, I am sorry, I have to object to the conclusion drawn that the DPR doesn't meet DPR regulations, because often, not, I mean, I can't say how often, but the DPR, Department of Parks and Recreation, makes exceptions to their 5,000 square foot minimum. They do it based on the facts. And so it is right for this community to, and there are other dog parks less than 5,000 square feet. So it is rightful to have DPR investigate a full submittal to review the facts and hear from community why it's so important. And there's nothing more important than public safety. And there's nothing that will give us more public safety than more eyes in the ground. And that includes everywhere on U Street, but right now focused this one lot, because it's a special area that needs attention of 18-hour traffic. So I just find it that it's not true that they do not review lots that are less than 5,000 square feet, because we have an email, Larry has seen it, that DPR has in fact told Parker, and that they will review a lot less than 5,000 square feet, which this lot is, I think, 3,800 or something to that effect.
So they said they would review, but that they said they would look at the recommendation and give great weight to the recommendation provided by the ANC. Now, they did also email and say that they do not typically approve lots that are smaller than 5,000. Now, they have in the past, but I'm saying the baseline regulation, as they have told us, is 5,000 square feet. And they have also mentioned, and we can see on the maps, that there are 2 dog parks less than a mile away from this. So I think that's just an important note, especially it's important if we really do care about the diversity of U Street, that this is a component of that. Commissioner Handerhan.
I'll be really quick. I think the reality is it's an uphill battle for a dog park to go here, but for all the reasons that Chair Harris said, I still think we should support the application, which was not where I was a week ago. I've talked to a lot of folks. LPCA did vote to support the dog park. I think that, the committee voted to support it. I think we're aware, we propose things all the time, which aren't, likely to necessarily happen, but it's aspirational. And I think we see the reason I'm voting yes is that I think a small dog park for small dogs would be a good use of that space and a hell of a lot better than what's there now. I think the reality is it's an uphill battle. And so I like the idea of thinking about other things that would go there. Frank, I would not support the changes that you proposed on process and content. On process, I think you were on the committee, you had a chance to discuss this, and I think doing it like in this way is just, it's generally not, I just don't think it's like totally fair to the committee that put in all the work to discuss it. And then on the substantive piece, because I think the dog park is a good use, but probably, not something we can bank on, I think that we shouldn't, deny support for an application for something else, even though I personally don't think the charging station is a great use for the site either. I'm happy to defer to the committee here. So I just wanted to share how I'll be voting with the rest of the group.
Thank you. And just as a point of clarity for the commission, so, and anyone can FOIA this, and apologies, I will get to you, Commissioner Sycamore, is that DPR wrote back and said, you are correct, and this is an email that was forwarded to us from Mr. Griffin. You are correct that DPR regulation does allow us to consider adding dog parks and triangle parks under 5,000 square feet. However, it is very rare, and our ideal minimum is 5,000 square feet. Now, he goes into other points in here. So I think, again, I'm not exactly sure how to vote on this, and it's not, I think I just want the commission, it's not a matter of opinion. This was cited by DPR that their baseline regulation is 5,000 square feet. So it's not a matter of if you're in favor of a dog park or not, it is the regulation. So even though that the ANC can propose many things, proposing this would go outside of the regulation. So that is just a note. And we typically try to follow the regulations that are set before us. Commissioner Sycamore.
Hello, thank you so much. To kind of be a little bit of a devil's advocate on this, there are also a lot of charging stations around here. I am currently sitting across the street from Whole Foods right here, which has plenty of charging stations which go unused quite often. So when I'm looking at this, a charging station to me just doesn't seem necessary or viable at this point. And when we're talking about creating this dog park that's less than 5,000 feet, we don't have to look any further than the S Street Dog Park. The S Street Dog Park is a wonderful little park for dogs, and I think we can have something like that here, and I think that'd be a wonderful addition to our neighborhood. So yes, while I understand that the regulation is not there, I think we can set a precedent which we can follow a precedent which S Street has set.
Commissioner Lakatos.
Yeah, I think I'll speak a little bit more in depth as to why I am supporting the concept of the dog park. And I will say again, as we all know, we are, and just again, reminder for everyone in the audience, we are an advisory body. So what we say, has hypothetical great weight and it's important. But at the same time, the district government will decide to do whatever they do decide to do. And sometimes they've told me in the past that things are not possible. And sometimes they actually weren't. And sometimes they said that, and then they came back and they're like, oh, actually, we can do it. And I think it's about, to an extent, it's expressing what we think is the best use in that space. Personally, in having, I live right by there, and I walk by in the section of the block of T Street a lot. I agree. I saw some comments that it's not necessarily the most comfortable space for people with the way that cars speed by. I think part of that is going to change pretty soon once the Florida Avenue Bus Party project changes a bit of the road configuration and some more investments we're having. But I think that's why I would support that more than an electric vehicle charging station. As I said again, there are a lot of surface parking lots. There is money involved in these grants. It's not to say anything wrong with that. People have every right to have a business, have a charging station. There's plenty of parking lots that can be partnered with that specific individual. Those parking lots aren't publicly owned. And I think that's a really important thing that really is driving my decision. This is publicly owned land. We don't have that much of it. And being able to control and activate it is a really advantageous thing. So that's why I'm going to be, why I will be supporting the concept of a dog park in this case.
So, Commissioner Kinsick, and then after you, I will be going to some of the community comments because we have quite a few in the Q&A.
Yeah, it's funny. Grad Treasurer Lockhart was saying about giving up city land, but 1617 U Street, we're giving up city land, and you were in favor of that. But looking at these comments, the ED committee voted from Chairwoman Gal 3-1 for the proposal, including both the charging stations and dog park. Any override is and happens, whatever. The points being made are inaccurate from the committee's point of view. Please be more factual, Frank. Mr. Griffin, DPR has in fact come back and said this meets the regulations and welcomes an application. I'm happy to speak more if you would like to clear things up. Bottom line is I will be voting yes on this on the set what the committee has agreed to, which is both the dog park and also the charging stations. Anything altered, I think that we have to then postpone the vote or go back to the committee because it's not fair. We're doing this live on this call and changing things and adding things of what was discussed in a committee and what was approved 3-1. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Kinsick. I think Commissioner Chauvin, I appreciate your work on this, but I think you would agree with some of the frustration of committee members because you yourself have been in similar scenarios where the commission, yes, we do have the final say on a vote, but it seems that your proposed changes to the resolution weren't discussed with the committee members. So I would advise if that's something that you want to discuss or the commission wants to push this back to the committee, I think we could do that, but I will recognize you for, you've had 2 minutes, but I'll give you 2 more minutes.
Thank you. Two things. If this commission is only about approving motions that are in adherence to the guidelines and the regulations, then it would oppose the use for charging stations, because the charging stations are not supported by what the Duke plan proposes. As I've already mentioned, I'm not going to go into those details again. I've said it clearly. The charging stations are not supported by the arts overlay. I've already made comments to that effect. So if this committee is going to go by the regulations, then I ask you not to oppose two important documents that are already being opposed for years by this city and our government. And that's why U Street is in such the turmoil and disruption and despicable state it's in. So sorry, a little emotion there, but this is my SMD, and my residents would like it to be articulated for high use area where we can increase public safety. So I will leave it at that, and I ask for your vote. And I actually like to make a motion to support that we just vote on the dog park. And again, it's just supporting the application for a dog park. So let's separate the motion. Let's send the resolution back to the Economic Committee. Let's just support an application for support of a dog park. It's going to take another year to review all of that. And so we have time to sit back and review some other uses. And in conclusion, again, the application for the parking, the charging stations, is a self-centered application by personal interests that are not in the interest of my SMD, this ANC, or U Street. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And just as a note, the Duke plan is guidance, it's not regulation. And so I'm going to go to community comments right now. There was one in here that as a dog owner, I can't say that 1625 T Street makes a lot of sense as a dog park. It is on a busy street with a lot of traffic and will not be a relaxing situation for many dogs. If we are looking to have something at this location that drives pedestrian traffic, another solution might be needed. Karen Gall, I know you commented in here several times, but I don't want to repeat it because I know Commissioner Kinsick already read this off. Basically, just as a reiteration, Commissioner Chauvin, it seems like that the committee was in favor of a resolution for both a charging station and a dog park. So that's a note. I see here from Parker Griffin that DPR has in fact come back and said this meets their regulations. We have not seen that email. We have received an email from that was forwarded to us by you. They did not say that it meets the regulations. It says that what I already read off, and I'm happy to share that email again, but it does not say that it meets regulations. They simply said at the end of the email that they would consider and give great weight to the ANC. Let's see. I think I summarized everything.
Can I have one more comment?
You have 20 seconds.
Being generous.
Thank you. Again, I am I've served on the alcohol committee for 5 years. Only this commission, everybody in front of me, everybody on the dais, on the video today, has turned down the recommendations, several, 2 or 3, by the ABR committee that I was personally a part of making. Okay, so I don't want that pulled as an excuse for not adhering to a commissioner, his SMD, and the great weight that he should be given in such a voice and vote here.
We are not suggesting that, Commissioner Chauvin. We are simply saying, yes, we have voted against what ABR has recommended. We are saying that this wasn't discussed with the committee. Now, when we went against the recommendations from ABR, it was because it was already discussed at the committee level. What we are saying to you today is that the resolution that you brought forth this afternoon was not discussed with the committee. And based on what we're seeing in the chat, that there are some committee members who are saying it was not discussed there. That is the difference in what we are saying today.
Sure. And my motion, again, I had a motion on the table to just
Did not
support.
have a motion.
I don't.
You did not raise the motion.
I'd like to raise a motion.
Can I give Commissioner Kinsick 20 seconds?
Yeah, and actually, it's not for myself. It's for Randy Jones in the audience. He has a quick question if we can recognize.
In the chat?
Yes, in the Q&A, sorry.
Okay. Cedric, can you go ahead and promote? Oh, there we go. Good. Thank you. Go ahead and take Randy Jones off of mute.
Hi, I wanted to ask a question of clarification. The resolution that was passed by the committee, does that say a dog park and a charging station? Or does it say a dog park or a charging station?
I believe based
Seems
on
like
what I read, it was an or, not an and. So
Right.
apologies if I misspoke there.
Yeah, I think that's a key consideration just from coming from the
I
outside,
think,
not having that in front of me.
Yeah, thank you for calling that out.
There is, yeah, okay,
Sorry.
10-4.
Recommending as the representative of the committee this evening, the chair, acting chair here, I guess. It is for either. Okay, it supports the study and or application of both. All right, not, and they're exclusively for both, right? I mean, one or the other, whichever one proceeds or goes forward. All right, it's not for both at the same time, and it's not one exclusively at the expense of another. It's to study, it's support basically generally the concept going forward. So
Yeah,
whichever one
I think-
wins out, because both of them are going to take a year, maybe two, to fully vet properly.
Commissioner Lakatos hit the nail on the head. You guys, I mean, this is an advisory board. You should support an active use for that location. That's my 2 cents as a member of the public.
Okay, thank you.
Whether whether the public officials are telling you one thing or another, because they've told you couldn't split zone, and then they came back and said you could
Okay,
split zone.
this is about the dog park. So 1625. Cedric, if you can go ahead and take Mr. Jones off of the screen. Okay. Are there any further questions or comments before a motion is raised?
I'd like to raise a motion.
Go ahead.
That the resolution be sent back to the committee, but tonight that in concept this ANC supports the application for a dog park. It's so simply it lets that advance, that great concept advance. So again, I'd like to limit it actually just support of the dog park. Can this committee tonight just say yes? Raise your hand. I support the application for the dog park. That simple.
Okay, Commissioner Chauvin, what is your motion?
I motion that this commission support the concept and application for a dog park at 625 T Street.
I'd like to make a friendly amendment to that.
Let's second it first and then we can do that. Okay. Commissioner Kinsick.
Yeah, I would just say to let's see the goal to see both, a proposal for both. I think that's only fair.
No apologies, Commissioner Kinsick. Are you suggesting because I think there were two things. There was only one thing in the motion. It is to support a dog park at 1625 T Street. Are you suggesting instead, before Commissioner Chauvin made the motion, to say we need to send this back to the committee and support a dog park?
That is actually, I like that even better, to be honest with you. But I was trying to say that, the committee had come back and they proposed that both would be looked at. So I think that if we're going to be voting, I mean, I'm in favor of the dog park. I'm in favor of the electrical vehicles. It's not saying which one's better or which one's going to do better. I think we should just say that if we're going to be voting, stick to what was proposed in the meeting. And it was to see what the proposals would be for both, meaning if we were to move this along, we would get feedback from, for the dog park and also the electrical stations.
Okay,
I have a motion on the table.
well, hold on. I'm aware. We also have an amendment, and so here's what. Okay,
Well, it's a friendly amendment, right?
yes.
I haven't accepted that.
However, give me a second, Commissioner Chauvin. So you don't have to accept it. You don't have to accept it, and we can vote on this motion. Or Commissioner Kensick, if this motion is voted down, Commissioner Kensick, you can raise another motion to send this back to the committee, or vote for the resolution that was included in the agenda packet. So essentially, the motion that we have on the table is just to support the dog park. So commissioners, you have that motion in front of you. Commissioner Chauvin does not accept this amendment.
Hold on.
So no, you can hold on.
No,
So
I
you
might
can
accept
vote-
it.
You can vote for. Did you accept it or not? I thought you just said you didn't
No,
accept
I have discussion on it.
Do you accept the amendment or not?
I have discussion on the amendment.
Go ahead.
I would like and ask that I would support Commissioner Kensick, not a friendly amendment here, but another motion. I would support him in sending the resolution back to the committee for further review. So I'm not accepting the amendment, but support the commissioner if he has a motion after my motion is reviewed.
Okay. Now, commissioners, you have a motion in front of you. I would also advise that we do have a different resolution in front of us that looks at both a dog park and a charging station. So if this motion does not pass, we can still vote on the resolution if that is raised. So any other discussion? Commissioner Handerhan.
I guess it's a point of clarification, like, if this motion passes, could someone still propose a motion to pass the resolution that the committee?
Yes, but then it's just double, it's just double dipping. So I will say, yeah. Commissioner Fields.
Can we repeat the motion just so we have clarity on it again? Sorry.
Yes, Commissioner Chauvin, can you repeat the motion?
The motion is simply ANC 1B supports the concept and application for a dog park at 625 T Street based on the Duke plan and the arts overlay. I just added that. You don't need to accept it. So the last piece. So I'll simplify. Sorry. This ANC 1B supports the application and concept of a dog park at 625 T Street.
Okay. Any other discussion points?
I don't know where Commissioner Fields came in, but if you looked at the original resolution, Commissioner Fields, it had stated also a proposal for electrical stations, docking stations for cars. So that was what the commission or committee had agreed to on a 3-1 vote. I was not there for that. I'm just going off of what the people that have voted for it 3-1. So that's something just to keep in mind.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Commissioner Fields just entered the arena. She missed a substantial amount of conversation. Substantial. So I'm not sure that I have questions on a vote here because there's quite a bit that has been said about this.
Commissioner Chauvin, I leave that up to Commissioner Fields to decide. If she has any questions, she can simply raise them herself. So I think we have a second on this motion. It's on the table. Does anyone have any discussion points for this motion?
Chair Harris was asked by the proponent of the charging station if he could have time to talk, and I don't know if Parker's asked the same thing about the dog park before a vote.
Okay, give me one. Commissioner Sycamore.
No, it's okay. We can let them speak first, and then if there's anything after that, thank you.
Okay. Cedric, if you can go ahead and take Jason Turner off of mute, and then Parker Griffin, if you would also like to speak. Keep in mind you have 2 minutes. Let's go. Oh, okay. I'm gonna apologies, Parker Griffin. I'm gonna go with Jason Turner first because he had his hand raised, and then we will go to you. So if you can please mute yourself. I didn't realize that Cedric would bring both of you up at the same time.
Good evening. Can you all hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. I really appreciate the commission's time this evening. As some of you all know, I have been for the better part of the past month on calls and Zooms with the different stakeholders around. Our goal has been to be absolutely transparent about entertaining a multitude of ideas for 625 T Street. I would implore and ask the commission to please give great weight and respect to your economic committee colleagues. Last week, I don't know how many of you were on that call, but we had almost a 3-hour committee call about all of these things. The vote was 3-1. There was and I appreciate that that many of you guys weren't on the call, but there was a lot of discussion and support for a charging station and for the dog park. And the great consensus was that the community should be open to more possibilities, not fewer possibilities, that there was no risk to allowing possibility to proceed instead of cutting things off. For our perspective, we at T Street Development are interested in, we think the space is incredible. It's going to be activated both with a short-term plan that we're excited about, and the dog park and EV stations, as Commissioner said, are long-term possibilities. So I would ask that the commission please respect the 3-1 vote that was already taken place, allow for the proposal to move forward and take place. This is months before any decision would happen. We, I hope, have shown that we want to be continue to be transparent on showing renditions and ideas as soon as we get them. So very interested in that. So I hope that you can still allow us to still investigate this. One last comment that one of the commissioners made, or one of the committee members made on the meeting last week, was this proposal has to be submitted by May 24th. This thing is due basically in 3 weeks. So it was said to the commissioners yesterday, including Commissioner Chauvin, that unless this resolution is accepted just to move forward for further investigation, then the commission is by process killing any possibility of the charging station, because there'd be no time to go back to committee to rehash another 3-hour meeting where folks already said the exact same points they already made tonight, and would really, I think, discredit the work of the committee who spent 3 hours going through this. Again, this is not to authorize or to approve a charging station. It is simply to allow more process, proposal, and procedure to move forward. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Turner. Okay, Cedric, if you can go ahead and promote Parker Griffin. Okay, you can go ahead and take yourself off. Ooh, and there's an echo.
Hi there, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, awesome. Hi there, everyone. I'm Parker Griffin. thank you. I see my time started. Great. So very excited about this proposal for a dog park, as I've spoken at length with the community, as well as some of the commissioners here. I would echo Mr. Turner's comments that after a 3-hour meeting, I think a lot has been said about both the concepts, the benefits, detriments of either a dog park or a EV charging station. I think the committee has put a lot of time and effort into this resolution, and I don't know if changing anything about this resolution is going to change the minds of what the committee will send back come a month from now. I am very excited about getting the opportunity to pursue the dog park with DPR with this resolution. So I do hope that the ANC will vote for this resolution so that I can continue on with the dog park application with DPR. That is all I want to say, but happy to take questions also.
I do have one question for you. When you say support of the resolution, are you referring to the resolution brought forth by the committee?
Yeah, the resolution that's in the agenda.
Okay,
By the committee that voted 3-1. Yeah, I'm in favor of that resolution.
It's just okay. It's just as a clarity point, because there was also a edited resolution from Commissioner Chauvin that was presented to us and was on the screen earlier.
I understand. Oh, sorry. Yeah, I do understand. So I will just
There's a motion on the table.
State for. Oh, sorry. If I can just state for clarity. Yes, I echo Jason Turner's comments that the resolution as passed by the committee will help the dog park advance, and that was as decided by the committee that both the EV station and the dog park, they would like to see both advance.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for that clarity. Commissioner Chauvin, I recognize that you are also trying to chime in, but we do need to allow people to speak, especially both of the parties that we had forward. Are there any other discussion points? Commissioner Sycamore and Commissioner Chauvin, I will get to you last.
Thank you so much. Upon hearing all of this, I was really kind of torn into where I would be standing on this, but I really want to commend Mr. Turner and Mr. Griffin for giving much more context to this, and also for I cannot remember who the comment was from about the and or the or. I think that's very important context. So I think I'll be definitely in support of the committee's recommendation as written. So I think this is a good plan, and I think we can rehash this more. I think given what Mr. Turner had said, providing more options, not less, is the better route to take at this point than it is to limit our options.
Great. And just as a note, commissioners, the motion that we have on the table is just to support the dog park. It is not a motion to support the resolution from the Economic Development Committee. So does everyone understand that? I don't mean that in a condescending way. I know it's just very confusing. So just want to make sure. Okay. Commissioner Lakatos, and then I will kick it back to you, Commissioner Chauvin. Go ahead.
Very briefly, I would also thank Mr. Turner and Mr. Griffin for that context. I think that has kind of like helped me kind of understand the situation more, and I think I'll be I'm more inclined to support the original resolution that the committee shared. I wanted to add as a point of personal privilege, this is a very different situation than 1617 U Street. We're talking about public benefit, public land, I'm taking that moment here because I think we don't necessarily need to throw those out during meetings, but providing lots of affordable housing, a police station, a fire station, and a library is very different than a dog park. I'd like to make that point. That's also a benefit. But yeah, that's just me.
Hope you feel better.
Same to you, Commissioner. You're having a lovely evening.
I know that there is a hand up in the attendees, but based on things that I'm seeing in the Q&A, we will not be promoting that person. So I just want everyone to be aware. You can go and look in the Q&A if you would like. Okay, Commissioner Chauvin.
Yes, thank you for your help and aid and ears tonight. My first committee meeting. hopefully we're all friends at the end of this vote. I think we will be. I have good terms with folks here on the committee over the last 3 and 5 years, so I intend that to continue. My problem here is that this commission, with this vote, will vote for an idea, and that is the charging station. Not my vote, sorry. My vote is just for the dog park. And so I'm talking about what's been discussed between the motion made for the dog park only, my motion, and passing the resolution. If this committee votes for the charging stations, it is also, and I'm going to use a word that's a little loaded, but guilty of ignoring the Duke plan and ignoring the arts overlay. A use of a parking lot with 6 cars is no different than the fenced up lot that is there right now in terms of public safety. That's the bottom line. Public safety is number one. My neighbors are leaving. This corridor is in shambles, and no use of this parking lot is just as good as charging stations. So we'd be complicit in ignoring the Duke plan and the arts overlay. And I'll leave it at that. And I have my motion on the table. Thank you very much.
I think someone noted, who seconded that? Commissioner Chauvin's? You did, Commissioner Lockhart, okay. Okay, so this is the motion to support just the dog park.
I didn't say just the dog park. I said to support a dog park, right? So we're talking about supporting a dog park.
Supporting a dog park, not the resolution that the Economic Development Committee raised. We have a second. All those in favor? Opposed? Abstentions? Motion does not pass. Okay. Do we have a motion for the Economic Development Committee's resolution that is in the agenda?
I'd like to make a motion that we respect and use what the economic development came with to the table. Please.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Discussion. Commissioner Chauvin.
Yes, I will utilize my my elected office a voice here that the charging station is self-serving, a self-serving commercial interest, right? And it's unfortunate that there wasn't more discussion. And I'd also like and ask this commission to pass a motion after this to support the study of charging stations in the U Street corridor. We're 5 years behind on this. It's unacceptable. I understand we're all volunteers, but where's that committee that has been looking out for charging stations? I don't see it. Any community members here? I'd like to, enact a committee that we study for both developers and public uses of charging stations. And I'd like that considered after this vote. That's my first comment. But my second is, again, it's the self-centered economic interest here that does the committee or the U Street and my SMD no good. Thank you.
Okay. Commissioner Fields.
So just to be clear, voting on this resolution would again allow, I believe the representative who was in charge of the charging station said this would allow them to present a proposal or I guess more research on how this would come to be in addition to a dog park. Is that correct?
Not in addition to, it's I think it's looking at both. Either it's looking at the proposal for an electric car charging station or a dog park, looking at that proposal as well too. And both parties, I think both Mr. Turner mentioned that this would help them move forward. And then Mr. Griffin also said this would help them move forward. So it would be two processes that the ANC is supporting to look at.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Sycamore.
Thank you. Commissioner Chauvin, I respect everything that you're saying here, and I think you have a lot of passion and a lot of heart to this. But you keep using a couple words about destroying the neighborhood. and I'm unsure. I think that's probably kind of actually what has kind of tipped me over to the other side was the idea of an electrical charging station destroying the neighborhood. I don't see how that could possibly destroy the neighborhood in that regard. I'm having a hard time with that. So I want to just try to maybe possibly recommend to you is to maybe use a little less, I don't know, language that evokes emotions like this, because to me, just I had to pull myself back from this. Like, whoa, was it actually dangerous or was it not? It just didn't help the cause at all. And I don't know. I'm very excited to see what's going to happen with this, but I will be in support of this resolution. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Sycamore. Okay, go ahead, Commissioner Handerhan.
Just because it's been a while since I reiterated that, I would prefer a dog park to what I understand the Park Zero proposal to be here. I think what we're voting on in the original amendment is kind of keeping all options on the table. Because we're an advisory board, I think that is the smartest way to hedge our bets, which is why I'll be voting yes on the resolution that the committee passed.
Thank you, Commissioner Handerhan. Last comments here. I have a dog. I love my dog. I love the dog parks that we have. I like a similar owner on who added into the Q&A. I would not feel comfortable taking my dog to that small triangle park, only because my dog is pretty anxious. I know other dog owners who would feel differently. But I think it's important for us to consider what the Economic Development Committee has reviewed and spent a lot of time on. I know that may seem different, Commissioner Chauvin, but I've always stated in the past that yes, ANC has the final review, but it's important that the committee has the time to review something and to provide their recommendation. And what they provided today was the recommendation to for the ANC to support both proposals to be looked at, which is why I'll be voting in favor of this, even though I'm not exactly in favor of a dog park based on the regulations and what we have. But I think the ANC should give support to both proposals to be looked at.
So there is a motion on the table and there was a second, I believe.
Yes, and we are at the discussion points. Are there any other discussion items? Okay. All those in favor? Opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes. Thank you. Thank you all for a very lively discussion. And for bearing with me as I am keeping track of time. So, okay. Moving on, Commissioner Fields was here. Okay, I'm gonna move it to, so we were supposed to move towards, oh, apologies, Frank, when is the next, Commissioner Chauvin, when is the next Economic Development Committee meeting?
It's the third Thursday of May.
Thursday, May 16th at 6:30 p.m. via Zoom. You can join and register at anc1b.org. If you're interested in joining the committee, please email Commissioner Jones at 1b09@anc.dc.gov.
Great, thank you. Okay, Commissioner Fields is no longer here for public safety, so we may be able to circle back on that. Transportation, Commissioner Lakatos.
Sure. So this month we did not have a quorum because the new members of our committee, when they finished the meeting there, they met the two meetings, and then they were at but we discussed a resolution on the fiscal year 25 budget, specifically on transportation matters, that we workshop together. One moment, if you allow me to share my screen, 1 second. Okay, should be able to see it now. So this resolutions workshop with committee members, it talks about specific existing components of the budgets and support. This is also based off of past ANC 1B resolutions. It talks about maintaining bus priority funding. There's a proposed purchase of smart composting containers and public trash compactors, which would come, my understanding would be focused in dense multifamily areas, which include ourselves. Funding for WMATA, capital bike share, overnight buses, which very much affects our area, the U Street Streetscape project. It also includes opposition to some specific provisions. So the elimination of the circulator without a plan to replace the routes. So there's specific emphasis there. Cuts to DPW's booting and towing team, which are the teams that work here during the Nightlife Task Force. The elimination of the Performance Parking Zone Special Fund, which would fund the Community Improvement District for U Street. And the elimination of language that directs AT funds to the general fund instead of to traffic safety. There were also some additional recommendations of changes based off of our past resolutions. So capital funding for bus shelters, which is something that the ANC's passed in the past. Making sure that we're allocating Florida Avenue reconstruction dollars to addressing the remaining issues. There was a resolution we passed about that as well. Funding for the ADA reserved pilot parking program, which is something that DDOT is working on, that the ANC asked DDOT to put into place. And then expansion for what is known as the tactical hardening program. So it takes money from the, so it takes flex posts and turns it into concrete or like another thing. So it basically takes a temporary installation into a hard installation. That is the resolution. Does anyone have any questions? I'll stop sharing my screen.
Commissioners, are there any questions?
Yeah, one question. These concrete poles, was this always the intent to have? I thought the flex poles were like a permanent, like like on Florida and 10th. Are they putting concrete poles in general, like in all locations where flex poles are, or is this one particular location?
No, so what this is, it's not concrete poles to be clear. Basically, so some of those, like for example, at Florida and 13th is a good one. Or I think that the two that are scheduled to go in ANC 1B are at V and 17th and Florida and 17th. Basically, it would be where the flex posts are, the sidewalk would be widened. So it would bring out the sidewalk. And then I think they might do somewhere like a tree there. But the plans vary by location, but the program is pretty underfunded. And so it's kind of calling for an enhancement in the funding.
Understood. Okay.
Are there any other questions? Okay, do we have a motion?
I move that the full ANC adopts the fiscal year 2025 budget for transportation and public space resolution as presented.
I'll second.
All those in favor, or apologies, sorry, discussion.
Just a quick note. I'd like to thank the commissioner, Lakatos, for his hard work on this committee and his hard work in following a very important issue for the U Street corridor, which is the parking program. I'm sorry, Commissioner, the name of it, it's been. I'm sorry, performance parking zone. And we really need this funded, and we really need, it's part of activating U Street, bringing U Street back. And so I thank you for that and all the work, but thank you for your attention on the performance parking zone.
No, Frank, I'll second that one.
Okay, any other points of discussion? Okay, all those in favor? Opposed? Frank, do you oppose this or you? Thank you.
I voted in favor. Thank you.
Abstentions? Motion passes. Thank you.
The last update is just that if you're interested in joining the committee, we had some new members come in and we're happy to have more. As a community member, you can contact me at 1b04@anc.dc.gov. Our next meeting is next Wednesday, May 8th at 7 p.m. and you can register at anc1b.org. Thank you.
Great. Okay, so we're going to circle back up to ABR. Commissioner Fields.
Yes, thank you guys so much for, excuse my tardiness. I did have to work a little bit late today. So we'll just hop in with ABR updates. We had a bunch of licenses to review. The first one is for ServU Liquors. And the committee moved to support this application. They have a tasting endorsement and they're applying for a license class A retail liquor store license. And so I'd like to move it this time that we support this application for ServU Liquors.
Second.
Discussion?
Yeah, where is this located?
ServU Liquors, let me get the exact address for you.
It's on 9th Street, just south of you.
Yeah, it's 1935 9th Street. So it's actually in Frank's SMD. And so if he moved to support it, then I think that we should all support it. Yeah.
Any other discussion? Commissioner Sycamore?
Just really quick, yeah, thank you. I know the owners of this liquor store very, very well. They've been absolutely wonderful community neighbors. They've done nothing but comply and be absolutely wonderful neighbors to everybody and serving the community in their beverage needs. So I'm very happy to support this, and I encourage other commissioners to support this as well. Thank you.
Commissioner Chauvin?
I'll just ditto Commissioner Sycamore's remarks. These are the best couple. It's a couple that owns this and works there every day, hour in, hour out. If we could duplicate these folks in terms of good community neighbors with alcohol licenses, we would probably disband the ABR committee. So thank you for their support. They're great guys. And that's all. I'll cut my remarks. Thank you.
Any other discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Abstention? Motion passes. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. The next one is also in SMD 1B02. This is LA Liquors. Their business name is Legacy Alum Liquors LLC. They're applying for a license class A type liquor store. We would like to protest in order to ensure that there's a settlement agreement and ensure that they're good neighbors and stewards of the community. So at this time, I move to protest LA Liquors.
Amendment.
Apologize. What are we protesting on the grounds of?
Peace, order, and quiet.
Okay. Can you restate that motion fully?
Yes. So I move that we protest LA Liquors on the grounds of peace, order, and quiet.
Second.
Do we have a second? Do we have a second? Okay. Discussion. Commissioner Sycamore?
Hi, thank you so much. Legacy, is that also linked with the cannabis Legacy store on 14th and U? Is that the same owners, or is that just happens to be the same name?
I believe they just happen to be the same name. I don't think they're associated with each other.
Okay, thank you so much.
Just as a note, commissioners, and particularly Commissioner Fields, we need to be very specific when we raise protest, only because there are the establishment's representatives who do watch these calls, which is why, and I think I've talked about this in the past, but we need to be very specific in our protest because they may try to dismiss it. So that is why I am harping on that. So if there are other protests, please be specific and state why we are protesting. Commissioner Chauvin.
Just to support your comment there, Chair Harris, there are approximately 7 or 8 grounds on which we protest. The most used one and the easiest one, of course, is peace, order, and quiet, and litter and noise provisions. That's sort of a long sentence, but that's the one we mostly use. It's sort of a problem. We haven't used others. We've tried. They're in the law. And it behooves this commission to ensure that we have good use of the 7 or 8 that are available to us to protect our neighborhood, to ensure that we have a good operating liquor industry, license industry. So I look forward to making sure that we can, on behalf of our, is it 11,000 people in this that we represent, that we can give them a good place to live and utilize the 7 if they're necessary during our protests. Thank you.
Are there any other points of discussion?
I would just say that I know that Commissioner Fields and Commissioner Chauvin are really dedicated to this and put a lot of time in. So I will be supporting what they're suggesting.
Okay. All those in favor? Opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. Our next one that we have is Crush Bar. They're 2007 14th Street. They're applying for a retailer's Class C tavern license. And so we have requested that they update the settlement agreement because they got the liquor license transferred over from the previous establishment, which was Marvin, and they've agreed to do so. And so at this time, we are moving to support this license for Crush Bar.
So, sorry, there needs to be updates to this motion. So one, this is in my SMD. I've talked with the owners a couple of times. I think they're already open. I've heard really great things about Crush Bar. They seem to be really good operators. I also used to live in the same alley as Marvin. And so I think the space has good noise mitigation. They're actually getting their license transferred from Alroom, and we did update the settlement agreement from Alroom, I would say last year. So this is a pretty updated settlement agreement, and Alroom just wasn't successful. So this is to just update, and also I believe they are adding kind of a dancing endorsement because that wasn't transferred over. But they do have the license transferred over, not from Marvin, but from Alroom. And then it's the same settlement agreement that was transferred over. So this is as in the agenda packet, it's to update the name change. And then I think update maybe something around trash. But I think also in the motion, if you want to add Commissioner Fields, when you restate this, to give me, I guess, permission, since this is in my SMD, that I will engage with the owners who I'm already talking with.
Yeah, sure. So at this point, I would move to support Class C tavern license for Crush Bar, requesting updated terms to the settlement agreement and giving Chair Harris permission to add adopted provisions as needed.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
No
Opposed?
discussion.
Oh,
Just kidding. You're fine. You're fine. You're fine.
sorry, y'all. This is what happens when I'm absent from my first ANC meeting last month. Let's try this again. Apologies. We're going to revote. Commissioner Fields made the motion. Commissioner Kinsick, I believe, seconded it. Any discussion?
Just
Commissioner Sycamore.
Just really quick, I want to commend Chair Harris. Thank you so much. I've also been in contact with the owners, and they've done nothing but sing your praises, especially with it being an LGBTQ establishment. I really want to thank you for your engagement with this. Yeah, this has been a wonderful process, and they've actually had just nothing but wonderful things to say about you and the process. So hats off to you, and thank you for being so engaged with the community, because I know not a lot of bars do this as much as they have. So thank you so much for your dedication to this.
Thank you. Any other discussion points? Okay, thank you. All those in favor? Opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes. Thank you. Thank you, Commissioner Fields, and thank you, Commissioner Sycamore.
All right, thank you so much. And then Next up, we would like to protest Thirst Lounge on the grounds of peace, order, and quiet. There have been a couple of complaints from different residents in the neighborhood just due to noise mitigation and other problems that we like to address through a settlement agreement. So at this time, I move to protest Thirst Lounge on the grounds of peace, order, and quiet.
Friendly
Second.
amendment.
But do we have a second?
Second. Big second.
Okay. What is the amendment, Commissioner Chauvin?
Just adding trash, litter, and noise provisions to that motion, which is the full standard.
Okay. Do you accept that, Commissioner Fields?
Yes, I accept.
Discussion.
Yeah, just real quick. This is in my SMD. I actually brought it up earlier with Treasurer Lakatos about looking at funds. This has been ongoing. I've been in the occupant's home. I've gone to the place. I've met with the owners. It's gone back and forth. It started in November. I was made aware of it in February. They took the old license from Sakura, which was like a sushi place. I have nothing against them. They're a gay establishment, and I think they're great for the community. Just there's a lot of people that have lived there for 3 or 4 years, and because residential kind of supersedes some of the commercial, there has been a lot of noise complaints, and it's Director Musali's involved, Inspector Jones is involved. I mean, there's so many. So I commend Commissioner Fields for this, and I really encourage the commissioners to vote yes on this.
I have a quick question, and then I'm sorry, I'll get to you, Commissioner Sycamore and Commissioner Chauvin. Is this establishment up for renewal? I'm having trouble finding the placard.
No, they're not up for renewal.
Okay, this does make it. We have there's no leverage that we have here. Then they're not up for renewal. Are you all trying to revise the settlement agreement? Is that what is?
Well, right now at this time they don't have a settlement agreement with us. And so yeah. I mean, but we've seen a lot of residents complain about this and a lot of issues. So we want to make sure that it's addressed and that they do enter a settlement agreement. I have reached out to the entity to no avail, and there has not been a response for them to willfully enter it. So
there's just not anything, like if we raise a protest, that's not going to flag anything because they're not up for renewal. They're not up for, they're not seeking anything new. So there's no mechanism here aside from us like really trying to reach out for a settlement agreement and for us to vote on that. So I think that's, I understand there are establishments in my SMD that many neighbors have complaints and issues with. It's almost a waiting game aside from filing complaints, aside from continuously engaging with ABCA and the enforcement side. But this protest, there's nothing for us to protest here.
Okay, that's fair, and I will say this, Chair, is that they are getting fined at this point, meaning like they are getting the couple of the constituents are allowing the inspectors in the home. They're doing the sound check. They've given verbal warnings, and now they are officially getting fined. So yeah. The music has a little bit subdued. They kind of selectively, but so they are getting fined. So yeah.
No, and that I'm glad that is the process. I mean, I'm not glad that a business is getting fined. Let me just clarify that. I am glad the community is engaged and working with you to rectify the situation. However, I'm saying today as an ANC, there's no action for us to vote on. This is not the process. We can't protest someone's license. It's only to protest if it's up for renewal or if it's a new license.
Understood.
Commissioner Sycamore.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, no, thank you. You actually answered my question because that's what I was looking for as well. Chair Harris, thank you so much for that. But is there a way that maybe we can do this just as like a show of discontent? Is that even if it doesn't have any teeth to it, is there a way that we can do that just to show that it is discontent from the neighborhood?
We can certainly, so we do have a motion. We can certainly write a letter to APCA saying that here's everything we've engaged with. We need you all to further this, further support. So that can be a separate motion. But I'm saying this motion right now, we have nothing to protest. So I would recommend if a commissioner wants to raise a motion, to write a letter to APCA stating that this establishment is an issue for the community.
That sounds good. I think maybe Commissioner Fields, since she's been actively involved in this pretty heavily, that maybe she makes that motion if she deems it necessary.
Sure, but right now we do have a motion on the table, so let's get through this one and then we'll go to the next one.
You got it. Thank you.
Yes, I'm sorry. Did you call on me?
Yes.
Yes, I have a lot to say here. So this is my thorn in my side.
Let's get your,
You got my 2 minutes? Got my 2 minutes going, please. Give me practice at being concise here. Thank you. I would not suggest a letter. We do too much letter writing and emailing. I would just suggest that, and again, I'm not opposed, but I don't want people to waste their time. A letter, people need, organizations, agencies, APCA specifically needs to do their job. This commission needs to do their job. The council needs to do their job. There are no good rules regarding noise abatement, noise coming from establishments when people live there. It's a travesty and worse. And don't mean to raise any emotions from people here sitting on their rooftop, but it's just a lack of duty, lack of care that this goes on. It's not just that location, I think, at 2007th Street, the respective bar we're looking at. It's on U Street in LeDroit Park. It's on 9th Street. These instances are abrupt problems to people's lives, and they have to spend their night and day fighting the city. And it's wrong. And so it's wrong if this commission does not look at this issue or figure out how to spend some resources. Maybe it's $5,000 to hire someone to help us make sure this is a done deal, and so that future residents do not have to go through this, because it's disgusting and it's a sad waste of our time that organizations, agencies aren't doing their job, and the proper regulations aren't in order. So I'll have that to say, and I'll wait till my next round. Thank you.
Okay, I do take offense to that, because Commissioner Lakatos stated we are an advising body. And so what I'm suggesting is that we do our job. So right now, there's no renewal, or they are not seeking any sort of endorsement or anything different from the license that they have. Our job is to advise and to represent the community. And so right now, we cannot protest because there are no new licenses in place or a renewal. What I suggested is what our job is to advise APCA. We are not an oversight body. That is council, and that is the mayor. So if you want oversight, those are the bodies that you need to seek. And we can write letters to them as well, which we have, and which you have recommended, Commissioner Chauvin. So what I'm advising that the commission do if someone wants to make another motion, which I think Commissioner Fields is the proper person because she's been dealing with this along with Commissioner Kinsick, but they both have been doing their jobs and engaging with community members and trying to figure out a solution here. So I don't want to minimize their work. And I think the best path forward for us, because this establishment is not up for renewal, or they are not seeking any sort of new endorsements or new license, that is the best path forward for us to write a letter, also citing all of the complaints that are put forward as well to support the community.
Yes, and I do have all the FOIA complaints, everything. This has been a lot of work since February. So I do agree. Thank you, Chair Harris. I do think we should write a letter. And depending if Commissioner Fields wants to withdraw and propose or wants me to, I don't know how she wants to handle that.
You can make the motion. I know that this is in your SMD and that there's been a lot that you've done on it too. You can make
So you can withdraw the motion, Commissioner Fields, or we can go ahead and vote on the motion.
Yeah, I'll withdraw the motion.
Okay.
I'm going to motion that the 1B Commission write a letter to APCA on issue of noise and complaints that we've had regarding this establishment.
What establishment?
Thirst
Lounge.
Lounge. Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm getting a little tired myself. Thirst Lounge. Yes, that's correct. Thirst Lounge.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Discussion. Commissioner Sycamore.
Thank you so much, Commissioner Kinzik, for bringing this up. Might I add a possible amendment to this and saying other entities as well, not just APCA? Is there any other entities that you think that might be able to have a heavy hand into compliance and enforcement on this?
I'm sure that we can also include DPW if there's issues of parking. But
or even like the Office of Nightlife or anything of that matter?
I think we can add those in, yeah.
Okay, I was just wondering. So we can make it.
I accept that friendly motion.
Okay. Commissioner Chauvin.
You know, again, I will iterate, we can write little letters all we want, but I think it's as simple as this, that we pass a quick motion authorizing Alan to enter request to engage in a new settlement agreement based on the facts. You know, that way we get somewhere. Okay, we'd engage them. We have the sense of this body, this ANC, that change needs to happen, and we'd like them, ask them nicely, to engage in a settlement agreement with provisions that will be helpful. There are measures there that we can take and that we have authority to do, and that are a direct enactment and engagement of our duties of oversight, of recommendation on this matter. And it's the sense of this body, and it's a progressive step. So I'll just leave it at that, Alan. I was thinking that's a better measure than just sending a letter.
So Commissioner Kinzik has already stated, along with Commissioner Fields, that they both have sought out the establishment to form a settlement agreement. You may have missed that, but they both have stated that they are trying to enact that.
And also, Chair Harris, and thank you, Commissioner Chauvin. I've actually sat with them in a meeting, and they did not seem too friendly when I had suggested about them working with us to do a settlement agreement. I have the owner's phone on my speed dial, so I can absolutely try again. I can just say from the last couple of months, I don't see them signing something they don't feel like they have to. But I will absolutely ask, but I'm still leaving my motion on the table to proceed with a second, I think, Commissioner Lakatos for a vote for this letter.
Okay. All those in favor? Opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes. Thank you.
All right, the next application is for Bestway Liquors, which is located in SMD 1B08. So they are applying for a Class A license for a liquor store. And just personally, I've seen them be a proponent of many of the substance abuse that is going on in the area. A lot of committee members noted that as well. And so for those reasons, in addition to trash and other things that are around, we were moving to protest on the grounds of peace, order, and quiet. So I moved to protest Bestway Liquors on the grounds of peace, order, and quiet.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Discussion. Commissioner Sycamore.
I'm sorry, Commissioner Fields. You said that they are perpetuating what again? Like
of substance abuse in the area. They open extremely early, and a lot of the neighbors who are homeless or are particularly dealing with substance abuse will use that to go into the store and start drinking early in the morning and in the streets prior to doing other types of drugs and roaming around the new street endlessly. So it's perpetuating a lot of other issues for the area.
Is there any sort of documentation of this that you've seen?
I don't have anything on me right now. Just my experience as a neighbor, and there were several other neighbors on our committee call who shared experiences as well.
And where is
So
this located again?
it's in Myosin.
14th Street. If you want,
It's right next to, it's on the same block actually as Crush and as blocks all over.
Okay, I know where you are now. Thank you so much. Okay.
It's 2011 14th Street to be exact. Yeah.
Yep, now I see it. I'm sorry, I lost my place. Thank you. Yep.
No worries.
So as a note, this is a renewal. This is not a new license. We need to make sure we clarify that this is a renewal. I worked actually with Bestway on their initial settlement agreement. I would like to hear if there is documentation on what time they're opening, because I did work with them on their hours and I'm willing to work with them. They are willing parties to work on their settlement agreement. I think it's a bit unfair to assign that this one singular liquor store is contributing to any type of substance abuse without documentation. None of us here, unless I am completely unaware, and I could be, but none of us are doctors, none of us are professionals. Maybe neighbors are who witnessed this, but again, I'm willing to work with them on a settlement agreement. And I just, yeah, I think it's unfair. It's unfair to assign them as well too. DC doesn't have any anti-loitering laws. So again, they could be going to another liquor store. They could also be going somewhere else. So it's, again, I can work with them, but I don't know if I'd be in favor of a protest here.
I can understand your perspective, but it doesn't take a genius, I think, to recognize someone who is suffering and definitely using alcohol and drugs and other things to medicate themselves. Currently, they're opening at 11 a.m. This license renewal is moving for them to open at 9 a.m. 3 hours earlier. And I don't think that, altering the hours in a settlement agreement would suffice for this. Again, I've seen my neighbor enter into this liquor store with a child, the age of 5 years old. And so I feel very strongly about this. And I do think that as an entity in this neighborhood, they should not be able to continue perpetuating substance abuse disorders and being a poor example for the rest of the neighbors in the community. That's something that the owners definitely need to address.
So it's not, I mean, it's none of, I understand that a child entering, but they can't bar a child from entering. That's kind of up to the parents' responsibility. I did just open their placard. You're right. They are trying to seek earlier hours. So I think that's something that should be discussed. But again, it's not it is not the body's job on if children are entering the store. I sympathize, but that's not our job to regulate that. Commissioner Chauvin.
Yes. So I am not one that has seen this activity, but I know it to be true. There are operators of liquor establishments that are problematic for a block. Okay. Let's look at Shaw Howard Deli. There's murder inside, they have drug deals inside every day. We've seen it. It's documented by the police. All right. We don't need that high of a standard for a murder to happen to try to fix a block. That's a tough block. I think something needs to be done. And I think it's not unreasonable to say no to their hours based on the grounds of several committee members, not myself. I am not aware of the establishment, but at least two other committee members are aware deeply of the problems with this establishment. And so on the grounds of bad conduct, tough business, tough block, something needs to be done, including a simple measure of not allowing them to expand their operating hours.
Okay, Commissioner Sycamore.
Sorry, thank you. I think Chair Harris and I are, for the most of this meeting and for today. We're quite in sync with each other today. I'm just worried about the precedent this is going to set without having any sort of expert or any sort of documentation or any sort of um, any sort of proof on this. I'm afraid of the precedent this is going to set. Just because we don't like something doesn't mean that we have to always automatically protest it. I want to see a little bit more on this, but as of right now, I'm feeling inclined to not support the committee's recommendation.
Okay, are there any other discussion items? Okay, all those in favor? Opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes. Thank you.
Chair Harris, I don't think you are voting, right? Just as a point of order, unless there's a tie. Am I correct?
No, I can vote because I am a commissioner, just like all of you. I have voted all night, so.
Oh, I thought it was in the rules that
That is not
chairs
in the
of,
rules. I am
Okay.
happy to bring it
Okay.
up. It is committee's rules. It is not the commission's rules.
I'm sorry.
Elected, just like all of you.
I'm sorry, just my first night, so I appreciate your your education in a soft and kind and gentle way. Again, the rule, there's no rules on the commission, but it's not Robert's rules that the chair votes. Because I know it's not, it's true for the committees. Tucker has, Commissioner Jones has investigated. So I'm not asking for your, faces or upset with me. I'm just asking for some kind conduct and understanding here.
Thank you. I would also watch your tone on that.
I have no tone, just asking nicely. Thank you.
Just because you say nicely doesn't make it nice, but I am just like everyone on the commissioners, I'm duly elected. I can vote on matters. And other chairs have voted on matters. We recommend that on committees that chairs do not vote. It's mostly in ties. Because most of the time the chairs and the committees are commissioners who can vote in the commission meeting. I am the chair of the commission, but that means I can still also vote because I do represent my SMD, just like each of you. If there is an issue with that, I'm happy to pull up the email from ANC who has provided this guidance.
No, I've actually read it, and that's 100% not only voting privileges, but also discussion and explaining to the commissioners or giving your insight. That's all part of it as being chair. So you're within line what you're stating.
Thank you. Next, Commissioner Fields.
Right. And, I just want to address, Chair Harris, Commissioner Sycamore, I hear and understand your concerns. And so in the coming days, I will provide documentation on, issues and other complaints and, just poor conduct at this store so that you guys can feel more affirmed in the motion passing. The next one is for Howard Theater, which I'm sure we all know and love. They are looking to expand the theater, adding additional seats, and they are applying for Retailer's Class CX multi-purpose facility license. And so we are asking that they make a few friendly amendments to their settlement agreement, but we at this time are supporting Howard Theater in this license application. And so at this time, I move to support Howard Theater and a Class CX multi-purpose facility license.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
I have a discussion point.
Sorry, discussion. Go ahead, Commissioner Kinsick.
No, of course, it's cool. I do want to support obviously Howard Theater. I've managed theaters before. I just want to make sure that their sound and music, depending on being a multi, it doesn't impede on the other areas or neighbors behind. That's just a general statement. I'm still going to be voting yes for this. Just when you're dealing with multi-layers and different uses, sometimes you could have like a concert come in and boom boxes and very loud. So it's just something that we should think about. Again, I'm going to be voting yes. I just wanted to bring that up.
Commissioner Sycamore.
Commissioner Kensick, boomboxes. What are we in the 90s? Come on. No, just quick question. So they are looking to expand their capacity, the capacity of what the theater can hold. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct. They're adding additional seating. Yes.
Okay, is that still within the fire marshal and the fire guidance and everything? Is that still all within code?
Yes, I believe so. Yes.
Okay, I just want to double check and make sure. So there's no construction going on. They're not expanding the theater or anything. It's just trying to maximize capacity within their existing building. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct. So they're going to add 402 seats on the first floor and 198 on the balcony. And so that will be a total of 600 additional seats. And so the load will increase by more than about a third. It will go from 550 to 1,214, that capacity.
Okay, so just for clarification, I'm sorry, I'm taking a little bit of time. So because I've been in there before, so they're trying to put in permanent seating. Is that correct? Instead of like the actual foldable chairs that they usually have. Is that correct?
I believe so, yes.
Okay. And will it be removed and then they can make it like a 9:30 club where people are standing, or is it going to be just an actual theater from here on out?
I'm not sure, but I can follow up and get back with you on that. At this time, to your point, and Commissioner Kinzick's, I do also know that they've received federal funding of over, I believe, $700,000 to also make sure they're updating it to, be more modern. So I know that their, AC systems, their sounding, their piping, other things like that. So, and it's also a match program, so they're putting in that money as well. And Frank, I believe, has met with them or has requested to meet with them, so he might have some additional comments and information that he can provide as well too.
All right, thank you for that context. I appreciate it.
Commissioner Fields, did you have a comment? You did raise your hand before. Okay, Commissioner Chauvin.
Yes, I know have worked with the general manager that runs a good operation over there, and I actually will be checking in with her because I'm not positive whether, and it is the outstanding question, whether it is chairs that are installed permanently or just the number of chairs allowed. So the question's to be determined. I don't think we have a correct answer yet, but as soon as I meet with them, I'll let you know.
There any other?
Yeah, I guess it just doesn't really help too much with me because I'm not sure like how we're supposed to be voting now without it. For me, that's kind of an important question.
Well, there's an important question. I ran the fourth largest theater in Manhattan, and I can tell you that they are chairs that are permanent / retractable. They do that also for wheelchair sections as well, where they can, if there is not accessible ADA or if there is no clientele coming in, they can add chairs. So I'm assuming, and again, Frank's going to get more information, but they should be able to, with the Commissioner Fields said, the modernization, these new chairs that are installed, even if they're going into the concrete, they're able to adjust them and take them out. So it could be open capacity. I sincerely doubt they're going to go that route, but I'm sure there's going to be areas where they can add accessible ADA compliance, but then also if there's none, they can add chairs that are going to be there to, for the night or whatever.
Cool. I'm just thinking like high school bleachers kind of thing, but let's hope not. Thank you.
Okay, all those in favor? Opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you guys so much. I really appreciate it. Our next meeting will be on May 15th at 7 p.m. via Zoom, and I look forward to seeing everyone who can attend there.
Great. Okay, we're going to continue with you, Commissioner Fields, because we did skip over. Wait, yes, okay. Public safety and community engagement.
So for public safety and community engagement, we had one sponsorship application that was lingering from the past 2 months. It was from Our All Night U Street, which, as you guys may know, is a program that they've been hosting in different areas around the city. They've applied for, I believe it was $1,000 in funding. And so the committee did move to support this request, just due to the fact that they'll be bringing a lot of new artwork and artwork from the community to the area. And so at this time I moved to support All Night U Street for their sponsorship application.
Do we have a
Sorry,
second?
I'll second it again. Sorry, I've interrupted you in the middle of your motion. And I also have a discussion.
Go ahead, Commissioner.
Commissioner Fields, if I might offer only a friendly amendment to say we authorize this sponsorship pending OANC review, just because the Art All Night sponsorship that we gave last year was one of the ones that they then changed the rules on us a little later. And so I just want to make sure that we're able to actually give them money properly. And I can follow up with you after that, but as long as they say we're good with it, then I think we're good with it.
Okay, I accept that friendly amendment. Thank you so much. Also, I apologize. I believe it's for 3,000 and not 1,000.
Commissioner Chauvin.
I'm sorry. So Commissioner Fields, what's the number again? You said
1,000.
I'm sorry, you keep cutting out.
Sorry, 3,000.
3,000. Okay. Can you answer? I think the point of contention, if you would, Commissioner Lakatos, tell me, is the hangup that they are a district funded entity? Is that sort of the new hangup? Just a question, because it's important. No, it's not.
It's the context is there used to be a process where we would be able to sponsor events, and we would be able to sort of pay for that sponsorship, and then the organizer would put our name on their flyers. They would advertise us as participants within and supporting the community. This was a way to more easily for us to support community events. The guidance on that has now changed from OANC. It does not have to do with them being a district funded entity, because District Bridges is still a nonprofit. So we can still sponsor their event. We just have to find a way where we can use that, like get OANC to review it and use that funding properly. Just because then if we give them that money, now we're looking back, and we did also sponsor them for $3,000 last year. And we want to make sure that when we're spending that money, then that if it gets approved, then we're good. And then, because if not, then they'll take that $3,000 out of our allotment if they don't like, if they don't like it.
Thank you.
Any other discussion points? All those in favor? Opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes. Just as a note, this is not just for you, Commissioner Fields. This is for every commissioner on here who receives requests on grants, scholarships, whatever it is. Please, 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 please email Commissioner Lakatos before you put it in front of the committee, before you put it in front of the commission. And I realize I don't want to create more red tape. We just we've reduced our allotment by a lot pretty much every time. And granted, yes, we do have additional funds. This isn't that big of an issue. It just gives us headaches of other paperwork and things that Commissioner Lakatos has to refile. So it's not that we don't want to spend the money. OANC has just made it even more difficult for us to do that. And so what I'm asking is that you email the executive board, email the entire commission, whoever you want to email, so then we can verify and say, this is what we can spend it on, or here's the documentation we absolutely need before we vote on this, because it seems like every time we vote on sponsorship things, I get it. It's been pretty murky with OANC. We just want to try to mitigate that before we get to a vote, so then we can very easily give that organization the money from ANC 1B.
Understood. Yeah. Okay. So this time I also would like to make another request for ANC. Hopefully maybe this could be a new tradition for us. One of the things that I think could be really impactful to the students in our area would be providing scholarships. So I would like to propose that we do 3 $1,000 scholarships to college high school students who will be attending a post-secondary university, and then one a $3,000 scholarship to a college senior, since we do have a university in our area. So at this time, I move.
Apologies, no, 1 second. Before we vote on this, or any motion is raised, I think this is an excellent idea. However, Commissioner Lakatos, can we actually spend ANC dollars on this? And this is not to minimize like that. Like, I think we all can agree this is incredibly important. We just are a government body, so we have to make sure we follow process and the regulations behind this.
Yeah, so my first inclination, knowing the rules, is I don't believe we can, but there may be a process by which not get around it. We can figure a way to do it, but I don't know that process now. So my recommendation, and I was going to ask Commissioner Fields if we have specific, like an organization or like specific individuals yet. My recommendation would be that we go to OANC with this sort of like this question about how we can do this and whether we can do this. And then I would say that we should do an amendment to the budget specifically for this, because then we could also still leave the existing funds we have for sponsorship, so we could spend more money if we could then do this. That would be my recommendation.
Thank you for that. I definitely, just looking at the different guidelines that ONC gave us this past year, thought it might be something that we could do, just because it would be an application that hopefully we could post on our website and that will be open to all residents in ANC 1B, regardless of age, and other factors. So hopefully we can send it to OANC and receive a great response from Denise. That sounds good. There's one last thing I'd like to introduce, which would be $1,000 to do a donation drive at the area that encompasses Shaw Howard Deli, basically 7th and T Street, to distribute essentials like soap, laundry detergent, other household items.
So unfortunately, we can't do that. We can't. That's.
They took away the ability to distribute a lot of these items after COVID. It was an emergency authorization that we got. But if there is, I will say this, if there is an organization that is doing work like this, we can pay for parts of their the event setup work.
Like the tables and chairs.
The tables, chairs, signs, I think we can do too. We can do a lot of that. I wish the rules weren't that way.
It's DC law, and like I think all of us on here really despise, and many commissioners have had issues. We've all talked with OANC about this at length, but we can't do that.
All right, sounds good. The next public safety and community engagement meeting is Tuesday, May 14th at 7 p.m. Hope to see you guys there.
Again, I really do apologize, because it's so frustrating, because the ANC 1B has a lot of money and we could do a lot of good with this. And we have spoken at length with OANC about this. Now, community members, I'm not putting this on you, because we are actively trying to push against this and work on this and find, different avenues of what we can do. But if you are as frustrated as we are, this is something you can absolutely write into OANC and even council about, because it is very frustrating that we are hyper-local representatives and we can't utilize and spend this money to really positively impact our community here.
Right. Great point.
Hear, hear.
Okay. ZPD, Commissioner Lakatos.
Sure. So I'm going to be presenting for Commissioner Jones this evening. There is one case before us. It is HPA 24-223. It's at 2033 11th Street Northwest. This is for historic review only. The request to the committee was the addition of the back of an existing townhouse to allow 2 more units, in addition to the existing 2. This is already allowed by right. As I said, the request is just for historic compatibility. I'm reading off of Commissioner Jones's notes here. The applicant demonstrated per the rendering, the proposed addition will not be visible from the street, except for one particular angle. The committee recommendation is that the full ANC support the application for 2023 11th Street as presented, with the following exception: material change of side paneling to brick-looking material. And I would move that the full ANC support that application as I just presented.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Discussion? Commissioner Sycamore.
You probably don't know this, Commissioner Lakatos, but maybe someone on the audience does. Do we know what the one abstention, or not what abstention, the one vote against was for, or the reasoning behind that?
I don't know.
Hold on.
The only reason why I'm asking is just because they're typically pretty, they're usually in lockstep with each other, so that's why I'm just wondering. Because I'm like, oh, that's pretty odd. So.
1 second. If it's probably in the minutes. So.
Oh, thank you.
And I do. One in favor. Okay.
Being present at that meeting, it was, I'll speak to it. It was because of the massing in the back of the property. They felt it was the one committee member did not want the massing. It was it seems a little big from the back and not conducive to what some of the other row homes are in terms of massing, to the existing row homes. However, the committee felt that that it was no problem generally. So that one person voted against on that ground.
Why did they vote against?
Because of massing. They felt the massing was not appropriate.
And
I
this
don't have
was
any added. Go ahead, Commissioner Sycamore.
Oh, I'm sorry. And so this is a business, yes? Mintron?
No, this is residence. I think it will be 3 or 4 residences.
Okay. Unless I'm looking at the wrong thing. This is for Carlos Penaya, owner of Min. Okay, maybe that's just not at all relevant. Okay. Never mind. All right. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
I am seeing Ms. Karen Gall with her hand up. Cedric, can you go ahead and take her off of mute?
Good evening, and thank you for acknowledging my hand. I did have something to add to the zoning committee report. As Frank indicated, Commissioner Chauvin indicated, it was due to a massing from our resident, our committee architect, who just felt as though it was just a bit more than the block had in place for that area. However, there's a building that's probably one door down that's being built that overshadowed that. So it was just more aesthetics, but the vote carried because of the fact that it was adding additional housing, and the committee felt as though they were comfortable with what it was. But that was it, Commissioner Sycamore. But Commission, I did have a previous comment under Commissioner Fields' purview, and I know that you guys moved on to another subject matter, but I wanted to.
apologize, Karen. Can we just, because we're in the middle of a motion, can I get back to you after we get through this motion?
That will be fine. Thank you very much.
Okay. Okay, are there any other discussion points?
I'm just looking here, and I'm looking at the house now. It seems like it's the 2 houses that are next to it, and then 2 houses down from that. It seems like the massing is whatever massing they would add on to this would be consistent with the rest of the neighborhood in the back alley, at least. So from what I can see here, I'll be voting in favor of this.
Commissioner Lakatos, did you have anything?
No, all that sounds
Sorry,
great.
I saw your hand up. Okay. All those in favor? Opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes. Thank you. Cedric, can you go ahead and bring
Can I just say the next meeting
yeah,
for the
actually,
the next meeting for the ANC 1B ZPD committee is Monday, May 20th at 6:30 p.m. via Zoom. To attend, you can go to our website, anc1b.org. And if you're interested, you can email Commissioner Tucker Jones at 1b09@anc.dc.gov.
Go ahead, Karen. Thank you. Sorry about that.
Thank you, Commissioner Harris, for the acknowledgement again. Once again, I just wanted to add a point to the Public Safety and Engagement Committee report that Commissioner Fields was given. There is, because the committee works in concert with the commission to try to make sure that we have as much information as possible, these changes that are consistently coming in from OANC, it would be great if we're briefed on those changes as it happens. And I know that, as you mentioned, there's a lot of back and forth contention, but we need to have some written documentation in front of us so that we can weigh in and make sure that we are giving the best decisions possible. And the changes come in midway of the committee decision-making process. So although we just voted to bring in the new resolution that was presented this evening, we certainly want to be able to have the option to utilize the resources that the commission offers, but we can't do it if our hands and feet are tied in the process of doing our committee work. So I would like if we can possibly get some written documentation that we can work with as a committee, if that's at all possible, as soon as possible. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for that. And that is something that I mentioned earlier in our meeting in our financial report section of being able to publish some of this guidance that OANC has provided. I will say it's very, it's sometimes, it depends on the commission, it depends on the item. So as much as you all are getting this like back and forth from us on our commission meetings, we're getting it the same way, and it's very frustrating. So we will do our best to try to publish something and make sure that the Committee on Public Safety and Community Engagement has that updated info. This is also why I requested that, if there is a sponsorship available, like that is that comes forward from the community, that it is presented in front of the or it is at least emailed to Commissioner Lakatos or even myself. And you can CC the OANC on it. You can add in the entire commission. We just want to make sure that before these things come in front of the commission, that I don't want us to look like we're Scrooges and that like we're like trying to keep all this money. We're at the whim of OANC. And so that's why I'm asking kind of for both the mutual of, hey, when you all do receive something like this, can you let us know in advance? And we will do the same in terms of the guidance that we're provided. We will try to put that on the website and then also give that to you all, hopefully before the month is up.
I appreciate that, and thank you very much. And I certainly understand the situation that the commission is in. So I know it's not on the commission's part. So I just want to, it helps to plan ahead for any of the items that comes before the committee. But I thank you again, and have a great evening.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, administrative, we have no items. Congrats again to Commissioner Chauvin. Executive Council Member, Commissioner and Community Announcements, Office of Council Member Nicole.
Hi, folks. I've got quite a few updates, but I will try to speed through them in the interest of time here. I want to start with public safety. Of course, very top of mind. We've had a handful of shootings in the last week. including a fatal one in ANC 1A, right on the border with Ward 4. The council member has been working with Commander Levenhouse of the 4th District, attended public safety meeting convened by an ANC commissioner at the trolley park, and our team did an interagency walk with MPD and other agencies the day after the fatal shooting. Our office is coordinating with Councilmember Louis George's office on short-term and longer-term actions, including Metro Transit Police Patrol, substance use disorder outreach, and more cameras in the area. Cure the Streets also works in that area. And one of the key, issues when shootings like this occur is getting witness testimony so that MPD can make arrests and the USAO can prosecute. Those are often really hard to come by, so we're continuing to work on our bill, our Case Closure and Witness Support Act, that would provide support to witnesses who give testimony in homicide cases, and we're awaiting a hearing on that in the Judiciary Committee, hopefully soon. We have a number of other bills that are awaiting hearings to address public safety, including that case closure bill, our 911 bill to separate out police and fire and EMS calls to be, more effective and better service, our cadet bill to improve recruitment for MPD, and then our fake tags bill to crack down on fake plates, which can sometimes correlate with dangerous driving and other illegal activity. That bill's coming up for committee vote in our committee before summer recess, and after we get through budget. Also on traffic safety, we recently introduced a bill to address this very big boom in mopeds that we're seeing in the city, especially in Columbia Heights, but kind of throughout the city. The bill would require sellers and renters of mopeds to arrange for registration with the DMV. We have some kind of outdated registration rules that in particular are associated with rental vehicles. So this will hopefully give some order to the mopeds in the city, which are often used for food delivery. It's really great that they're contributing to the gig economy, and it's a good opportunity for folks, especially immigrants. But we really need to be following the rules and make sure that they're safe for everyone. So it would just bring in line selling a moped more like selling a car, where the dealer does the paperwork for the registration and handles the plates and everything. So the biggest item that we are working on is, of course, the budget. We have lots of updates on our website, so I would encourage folks to check there and sign up for our newsletter for all the latest on the budget. A couple things I want to highlight. The council member really wants to see more money for veterans and LGBTQ affairs, especially with World Pride coming next year to DC. We're also working with Councilmember Parker on his proposal to make the LGBTQ affairs office its own office, and a few other investments. We're seeing a lot of budget cuts that we are really trying to fix and that are not okay. In particular, the budget zeroes out the pay equity fund. This undoes the salary increases for early childhood educators that we just boosted about 2 years ago. This is really a non-starter for us, and we're pretty confident the council can undo that and restore that. The ombudsman for children was also zeroed out. This has been attempted before, and we've been able to find the funding, so we're going to work on that. And then the budget also cut 200 full-time positions from DCPS. So this is another really big focus of the council of restoring that. But it's not all bad news. There is funding for school modernization projects at Tubman and Bruce Monroe at Parkview Elementary, some affordable, beautiful, dignified housing in a community park at the former site of Bruce Monroe, an investment in the Rita Bright Family and Youth Center in Columbia Heights, and more than $1 million in enhancements at Casey Lewis Field. There's a lot to fund in this budget, and revenues are slowing, but we're working really hard to fund critical programs. And so more to come on that. Speaking of Bruce Monroe, there was a question earlier about Bruce Monroe and green space. And I just want to make sure folks are aware that on that site, there will still be a nearly 1 acre park retained. Neighbors will have the opportunity to weigh in with DPR about what uses are retained at that space. And there will also be a new park at the Park Morton site created as that site continues to be redeveloped. So folks who are concerned about retaining green space in Ward 1, we can do both and. So that's very exciting. And then the last item, which I think will be of interest to most folks here tonight, we filed legislation yesterday to address some of the concerns that have arisen in the zoning process for 1617 U Street. The things that it addresses is unrelated to the Zoning Commission's purview because those are very separate. but just really ensuring that this whole process is executed well and we address some of the concerns that folks have raised throughout the process. So it would prevent the mayor from waiving the 30% affordability requirements. It would require that the land be retained as publicly owned in perpetuity. It would add some requirements to DEMPED's RFP process to include additional community hearings and requirements for the RFP itself, including analysis of how MPD and FEM service levels would be maintained, and the feasibility of adding additional affordability beyond the 30%. It would also give grant-making authority to support TOPA organizing for tenant support in the vicinity of the site. And it would clarify that ANC 1C also receives great weight in the RFP process in addition to ANC 1B. So that is that. I'm happy to circulate. It is not up on LIMS yet because it just was introduced, but I'll be sure to send it around to all of the commissioners as soon as it's up so you guys can read through that. And let us know if you have any questions. And then the last item, because in budget committee markups are really, really soon, for folks, for the ANC to transmit your resolutions on the budget ASAP. And that's all I have, and I'm happy to take questions.
Commissioner Kinsick.
Hey, Nicole, commissioners, I actually sent you prior to the meeting when Nicole, the bill that Councilmember Nadeau is suggesting. That's what Nicole was just referencing. And it's a 4-page document. I read through it. I do want to ask Nicole, and maybe you'll have to talk to Councilmember Nadeau, all of a sudden change of heart. I didn't hear all of this for the last year and a half. She's been well aware of this, and she kept talking about a library with Pinto and yada, yada, yada. So why are all these now being added? And like, what is the sudden change of heart? I mean, I love it, actually. It's a great thing. And I think that some of my, mostly Commissioner Fields, constituents are going to love a lot of this. But I just wondering where this suddenly came from.
So I wouldn't say that it's like a change of heart or that it's sudden for our office. These are all things that that we care very much about and that we've been discussing. I can say some of it is, we're just learning a lot as the public engagement continues. And so hearing what those concerns are and then figuring out the best way to address them is really kind of how we're approaching this. But I'm happy to chat with the council member and the staff that worked on this and get any more detail for you.
Tell her I commend her. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
We are going to have to wrap up this meeting actually fairly quickly because we do not have quorum anymore. Last question here, and then, yeah, we need to adjourn the meeting. This is pretty embarrassing. Commissioner Chauvin.
Yeah, Nicole, two things. One, question about our meeting time and schedule. This is the people's time, and there's lots of things to be said and done. So sometimes meetings run late, and so I think people need to be heard, and so I appreciate the time, and I don't think any of it was wasted. I don't think there's any stupid conversations this evening. So I'll just say that. Appreciate the chair respecting the voice of the commissioners and the need to talk and my constituents. Nicole, quick question for you. Can you tell me, did I miss or was it there and I was dozing off? Sorry, it's late because of me and my questions this evening. But is the council member trying to ensure that the parking program is reinstituted to keep the monies to support U Street? Did I not hear that, or can you iterate?
I don't think that I included that in my update. It's definitely a priority for our office, and I'll get you more info on where that stands. But that's an important project for us for sure.
Thank you.
Okay, I deeply apologize to the community. Thank you for joining us this evening. I am thoroughly embarrassed because this is not a professional, this is not how ANC 1B is run. I get that we all have personal things. I myself had a family emergency last month, but this is why we have a full body of commissioners. So I apologize to the community. We have to end this meeting, adjourn it, because we don't have quorum any longer. And we have to maintain quorum. So I apologize, because again, this is incredibly embarrassing. I know that it's late, and as Commissioner Chauvin stated, it is important to hear from the community, but we can no longer keep the meeting because we do not have quorum. So folks, have a great rest of your night. I apologize. Please take it up with your commissioners who are not here to maintain this quorum. If you have issues, you can always email me and others on this call.
Thank
Have a
you.
good night.